My name's Aidan Kearney,
known online as
Turtleboy, and is a senior editor for
TBDailyNews.com.
They call me
𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗺.
It's my preferred pronoun.
Daddy.
What's up, Daddy?
Journalism Jesus. Timothy Kearney.
The one and only Turtleboy.
Turtleboy. What's up, Slick? The doctor is here.
This guy's a bad motherfucker.
That's quite the intro.
I've broken a lot of major stories. I've been doing it for about 11 years. I used to be a high school teacher.
Turtleboy has changed a lot over the years. I was once a blogger, but now I'm much more accurately known as an award-winning journalist, a satirist, and an activist. Boom!
They're screaming your name here.
You're the crowd daddy.
Crazy. People either love me or hate me.
Listen, Turtle, all right?
But either way, they're watching.
Don't make such fun of the criminal justice system.
Stop it. I'm never gonna stop. This fight's just getting started. Now let's get this party started.
Yo, what's up, people? How's everyone out there doing tonight? Good? Good? Excellent. Welcome to a special hump day edition here of Turtleboy Live, Mega Motion edition. If you're new here, my name is Aidan Kearney. You can call me a variety of nicknames if you'd like, up to and including, but not limited to, Timothy Kearney. That's my true crime name. You can call me Journalism Jesus if you're the spiritual type. You can call me Turtleboy, will do. A lot of people just call me Turtleboy, Uncle Turtleboy. I prefer doctor because that is my preferred pronoun of choice because if 𝗀𝗏𝗆 is a doctor, then so am I. You can call me daddy or different derivatives of daddy, such as crowd daddy. That's what Alan Jackson calls me. Fridge daddy, which we won't get into, or also acceptable now as theater daddy. I don't care what you call me. Just be here every Tuesday and Saturday night, guys, at 9 p.m. sharp, and make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell in case we do a random one like this one, so you know we're live. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, smash that subscribe button. Let's get up to 164,000. We've been trying for a while here. I understand the heat's died down, but it's about to pick up because we got Mega Motion coming out right now and shit's about to get real. It's going to be exciting. So anyway, guys, yeah, so go ahead and do that for me. If you guys want to have your messages read out loud to the class tonight, we don't have super chats here. We have turtle chats. You can click at the link at the top for turtle chat. Pay whatever you want, say whatever you want, and there's like a 99.9% chance I'm going to read it, no matter how raunchy it is. We've had some interesting ones lately. Just, no centigraphs, please. Just for the most part, chances are I'm going to read it. So there's that. And shout out to the 24 Rumble Rats watching over on Rumble right now. Nice to see you guys over there. I haven't forgot about you. Yeah, Father Frigidaire, as Jimmy introduced me as. I haven't heard from Jimmy. Like, has anybody heard from Jimmy since I feel like he's gone MIA last few days. So maybe he's still on recovering from the Wilbur. I don't know. But anyway, guys, so yeah, there's all that fun stuff. What else is going on? Let me just read a couple turtle chats and then we'll get started with the Mega Motion because we got a lot to go over tonight. So don't want to miss anyone here. So we're on the 17th, right? Okay. All right. We're going to start with, let's see. We got Laura sends $5 and goes, please check your email. 𝗪𝐶 explains what happens in her own words that night last summer when she witnessed. Oh, I already read that one. Okay, never mind. That was last night. Okay, Colleen sends $13 and says, nice shirt. Or was that last night she sent that? I don't know. The 17th. I did one last night, so it might have been like past midnight. So that might be, it comes up as the 17th. Okay, this one's definitely tonight. Trisha sends $25 and goes, listen, Turtle, I was front row at the Wilbur on Friday night. Nice, nice. Electric show. I can't wait for the next. The next one's going to be way better. This was a cool one, but this was like popping my Wilbur cherry. I'm like a seasoned veteran now of the Wilbur Theater and just putting on a show. I felt natural up there, and we're going to have fun next time. It's going to be, not that it wasn't fun this time. We're going to have more fun next time. I promise. It's going to be so cool. So, all right, cool. There's that. Let me see if there's any extras. And keep me posted on the Red Sox, please. Oh, they tied it up 4-4. We got runners in first and third. Dude, they better not have an all-time collapse. I'm just saying. All right, Sarah sends $7 and goes, it's not the size of the sea. It's the mega motion of the ocean, baby. True. That's a good one. I like that. I like that. We got another. Let's see if we have another one here. Refresh. Okay. Any cash apps? My cash app is $ Uncle Turtleboy. All right. Let's see what we got here. Carly sends $5 and says, manifesting your freedom. All right. Thank you. And this was last night. Nicole asked me, what do I think about Vance taking over the Kirk show? I think he's only doing that once, right? Cool. I mean, I guess. I don't really have much of an opinion on it, but cool. There we go. All right. All right. So, if without further ado, again, I'll stop periodically to read turtle chats, but I just want to get started right away on this mega motion because there's a lot to it. So, you know, I will read your. I'll take periodic breaks and read your turtle chats, but let's do it. All right, so here we go. All right, so we are looking for this 88-page document. This is the affidavit. I am familiar with the facts and circumstances and make this affidavit in support of Mr. Kearney's motion for dismissal of the indictments pursuant to Commonwealth versus Odell. So you might have been like, you know, didn't you guys already do an Odell motion to dismiss? But this is based on new stuff, a lot of new stuff and lawyer stuff that they understand and I don't, but it's all good. Next. So it goes on to say, we're looking for dismissal of the indictments pursuant to Bridgman versus Suffolk, Brisbane versus District Attorney for Suffolk District, whatever that is. Again, this is the lawyer stuff that I wouldn't know how to do. I'm more like facts and tell you what happened and all that stuff. I don't know what a lot of this stuff means. This is why you have lawyers. All right. And we're also looking for disqualification of Special Prosecutor Ken Mello. We've already got him kicked off the Lindsay case. We want him kicked off this one too. Okay. Because he is an essential defense witness at trial. So we're going to need him to be on our side. There we go. Okay. All right. So Turtleboy has a YouTube channel. He's killing it. He writes articles. He does YouTube shows that are 2 or 3 hours on matters of public concern. They're categorized, and this is important, sequentially as numerical episodes with a unique title summarizing the contents of the show. Unique title as in I name them. I name them. Can you guys see this? Is this big enough? Can you guys actually read that? I like it when I'm up there with it too. Do you guys need this bigger or can you read that? I know some of you guys are watching on TV, but I don't know if like the phone people can read this. I know some people are on phones. What do you guys think? You guys can't read it? Okay. I'm guessing that the people watching on TV can see it. So yeah, we'll just go back and forth periodically. All right. There's no like medium size. They don't give you like another options, either this or this, you know, but all right. So goes on to say, let's see. Mr. Kearney's investigative reporting has exposed numerous examples of fraud, corruption, and wrongdoing. He often intersperses his journalism with elements of comedy, satire, and activism. Not surprisingly, many people who become the subject of his reporting don't like him. In April of 2023, he began researching the Reed case, which at the time appeared to be a straightforward, open and shut vehicular manslaughter case. After he reviewed publicly filed court documents and acquired information from sources he generated, Mr. Kearney quickly realized that the case against Miss Reed was far more nuanced than had been publicly reported up to that point. Since he first delved into the circumstances surrounding how John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer, ended up dead on the front lawn of fellow BPD officer Brian Albert shortly after Miss Reed dropped him off at Mr. Albert's Canton home, Mr. Kearney's reporting and content creation is centered on his unabashed belief that the DA's office and the state police framed Miss Reed with assistance from Jennifer McCabe and members of the Albert family and others who participated in Mr. O'Keefe's death and helped cover it up. Footnote 1, Miss McCabe's sister Nicole is married to Brian Albert. Okay. On April 18th, he published his first article. And you notice that this is the Olivia Lambo factor right here. And she has been working overtime on this. She's added all these cool hyperlinks before. This is very technologically advanced, this stuff. Some of these hyperlinks work, some don't, because you are looking at the redacted version of this motion. As you guys know, there's like a whole bunch of stuff that we got in discovery, a whole bunch of messages between various witnesses and agents of the Commonwealth. Okay. And all of that stuff is protected. It's under a protective order. So I can't post it. Okay. We can't. And when we put it in a public court filing, we have to redact it. That's why this thing took so long to come out, because there's so much stuff that needed to be redacted. However, what you can do, what is legal, is you guys at home can play a game of Mad Libs if you want and try to figure out what's in the redactions. That's always a fun project that you can do on your own and kind of figure out. But you'll never guess some of the stuff. But eventually it will come out. I don't know when. We'll make the case, I suppose, on a week from let's say the 17th. Yeah, a week from today of court. So I'll be in Norfolk Superior Court. We will be arguing this motion to dismiss a week from today. And hope to see some of you guys there in the courtroom. Love to see it. Wear your purple and green. Yeah, I mean, this is a big one, man. This is a big one. Anyway, back to this. So yeah, you can click and see the PDF of my article there if you click on it. Okay. Mr. Kearney's initial Canton cover-up report was primarily sourced by the April 12th, 2023 90-plus page court filing from Miss Reed's defense, which consisted of an affidavit from her attorney supported by numerous exhibits, including police reports and data from extraction report of Miss McCabe's cell phone. So, that's important. The reason we wanted to put that in there is that the April 12th thing is that I wasn't the first to report on this story. And that's important because this was out there already. All this information was out there and no one was talking about it. Those court hearings were empty. When I first read about this story, I'm like, how am I the first one stumbling upon all this? How this is the story of the century that I'm sitting on. How did I not discover this a long time ago? And so that's important to point out because of this was out there April 12th, all this information, nothing I reported after that, very little, was not already in court filings. Most of the stuff I got is from court filings and stuff. I did find some of the stuff on my own. I did interview some people, do some testing, etc. But for the most part, the majority of my reporting comes from publicly filed court documents and witness statements or whatever. And the Commonwealth was okay with all this information getting out there, but when I wrote about it, it blew up. And that's when it suddenly became a problem. That's why it's important to point this out. Mr. Kearney reported that Brian Albert, Miss McCabe, Matthew McCabe, Chris Albert, Colin Albert, and Julie Nagel were definitely in the house at the time Mr. O'Keefe was killed, and that all of them witnessed the murder or are aware of it and have said nothing. Most of them were not questioned by now terminated and disgraced trooper Michael Proctor. Mr. Kearney's article highlighted the Reed defense claims that Miss McCabe Googled "Hoss long to die in cold" at 2:27 a.m., which, if true, was damning evidence of her complicity in and or knowledge of the circumstances surrounding Mr. O'Keefe's death. Most of the individuals criticized in Mr. Kearney's April 18th article for their involvement in O'Keefe's death became the allegedly intimidated victims in his indictments against Mr. Kearney. Indictments related to Mr. Kearney's purported intimidation of Mr. Proctor and Sergeant Bukaki were later dismissed by the court. Mr. Kearney's well-sourced, dogged reporting and outspoken support of Miss Reed's innocence lit the spark that quickly ignited the national Free Karen Reed movement, a phenomenon which galvanized worldwide support for Miss Reed and relentless blistering criticism of the DA, state police, and civilians whom Mr. Kearney and many others believe concealed the truth about Mr. O'Keefe's death. His coverage of the case, which up to date includes 528 articles, it's up to 529 now, virtually overnight transformed a mundane Massachusetts criminal case into perhaps the most high-profile, scandalous murder prosecution in the country in decades. What happens when I click that one? Nothing. Okay. Mr. Kearney's frequent reporting on the Reed case has played a substantial role in the public's loss of confidence in the integrity and competence of the Norfolk law enforcement, an ongoing scandal that continues to plague the DA and state police in the aftermath of Miss Reed's acquittal. Ooh, a footnote. Mr. Kearney's exposure of the DA's and state police's conduct in the Reed case has complicated the murder cases against Brian Walsh and Miles King. It has led to significant criticism of the DA's investigation into the death of Sandra Birchmore, which it classified as a tragic suicide, but which many believe was a whitewash. In 2024, the U.S. Attorney's Office thoroughly rejected the DA's findings. I like that. Thoroughly rejected the DA's findings and indicted former police officer Matthew Farwell for Miss Birchmore's death. But for Mr. Kearney's reporting, disgraced former Trooper Proctor would still be investigating serious cases for the state police. Other members of the state police, Brian Tully and the lead investigator against Mr. Kearney, Buchanan, wouldn't have been publicly disciplined for their misconduct, and the Norfolk DA's office wouldn't have been dismantled due to their misconduct in the Reed case. This is all really important because it's like, I'm not all this stuff out there. You can call it witness intimidation all you want. It's not. But for my reporting, Michael Proctor still might be working for the Norfolk County DA's office. Michael Proctor is fired not because of what he did, but because of how he embarrassed the state police. That's why he's fired. If that trial wasn't nationally televised, Michael Proctor would still be working for the state police. You can count on that. Michael Proctor would still be working for the state police if that trial was not nationally televised, right? That's why he's fired. They had no choice but to, because too many people saw what happened. That's what I did with this case. I put a big old spotlight on it and turned it on for millions of people around the world. So there you go. That was my role in this. Okay. Although Mr. Kearney's reporting raised disturbing questions about the possibility of systemic corruption and gained him tens of thousands of supporters, the public officials and private citizens he is accused of wrongdoing and the microscopic segment of the population who remain convinced of Miss Reed's guilt, despite her acquittal, despise him for his coverage and opinions. Truer words have never been spoken. Since Mr. Kearney exposed the scandal surrounding the Reed case, the DA, state police, Miss McCabe, and the Alberts have repeatedly used the criminal justice system as the instrument to silence Turtleboy and end the persistent criticism his reporting has caused and still causes them today. So, summary of the motions here. The primary evidence used to secure his indictments were shortened, edited, and renamed segments from his hour-long YouTube episodes, which had the effect of skewing the true context of Mr. Kearney's episodes. So an Odell motion, how do you get an indictment dismissed? You can't just say, well, Your Honor, when I was talking about Colin Albert, I was doing an impression of him. You know, I wasn't threatening him because a judge will say, well, that's a matter for trial. A jury will find that the facts on that. But what you can't do is lie to the grand jury or mislead the grand jury. And that's where the 𝗍𝗿 motion comes in. The 𝗍𝗿 motion allows a defendant to have indictments dismissed against them if, inaccurate or misleading information was given by the prosecution to the grand jury. Because at the grand jury, guys, I learned about what a grand jury was during this whole process. I didn't know what the hell a grand jury was. I just thought it was a jury that was like grander than most. I thought it was, maybe the people on the jury were fancier. Maybe it was like, more a high profile case. I really didn't know what I'm like, oh, jury is just, the regular people in district court, but like a grand jury, it's like, well, they're fucking grand, aren't they? They're a fancy jury. But it turns out that's not what a grand jury is. A grand jury it's actually much worse than that. It's bullshit. It's like that. This is how our judicial system works. It's just a group of 25 jurors, I believe is the number. And they come in once a week and the district attorney's office feeds them a whole bunch of cases and evidence from those cases. And they ask for indictments. They go, we want you guys. They kind of treat the grand jury like the police. Like, you guys charge them. Like, the police aren't. I always thought police charge people with crimes. It turns out the grand jury, the grandest of them all, that's why they called them the grand jury, because they're above the police. They are the police. They're grand. They're the grand jury. And so they get to decide. So the grand jury, which is just 25 regular people coming in once a week. I mean, Fartbox served on a grand jury once, which tells you everything you need to know about who could be on a grand jury, right? And she actually told me about it. Like, she was messaging me. Fartbox was messaging me like during the grand jury about somebody had written about that was in front of their court. It was a crazy story. But anyway, we could use a grande jury. We don't want a grande jury. A grande jury would just be a whole bunch of conspiracy theories. And at the end of the day, the fake victim would fall in love with him and they would live happily ever after. But it's a one-sided jury. Only one side of the presentation is heard. There's no defense. And so they already have every advantage. They don't need to lie. They don't need to mislead. They already have all the advantages. So that's what they did in my case. They lied to the grand jury. For months prior to the grand jury proceedings, 𝗫𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏 were familiar with Kearney's actual episodes, including their true names, length, and context. During the 2 months prior to the grand jury proceedings, 𝗫𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏 welcomed unvetted evidence and guidance from a woman named Catherine Peter, also known as Crusty Panties, a private citizen who they knew harbored an unhealthy obsession and hatred for Mr. Kearney. Miss Peters' dreadful credibility included incidents in 2020 and 2023 where she falsified and forged evidence to harm Mr. Kearney, the latter of which included her audacious defamation and exploitation of Chris and Colin Albert to further her insatiable urge to embarrass Mr. Kearney. I cannot wait for Doolin to read all this. Keep in mind, Doolin has no idea, probably, what a crusty panties is. He has no idea. He just knows that I'm like a controversial guy on the internet who, makes faces in windows and, has a show where I make jokes. I'm a satirist, he calls me. And that's it. That's what Doolin knows about me. But he doesn't know about the crust. He doesn't know to trust the crust. And he doesn't know all about her background. But he's going to find out because she is central to these indictments against me. Miss Peter provided DL Tully and 𝗏𝗏 with video and audio evidence, including edits from Mr. Kearney's lengthy episodes, which she believed evinced Mr. Kearney's intent to intimidate witnesses. As detailed in the accompanying affidavit of Courtney Healy, according to Tully, Miss Peter directed him to specific timestamps of Mr. Kearney's episodes, which he located and edited, rather than review the linked files provided to him by Miss Peter. So they're stuck with this lie. There's no way that's true. There's no way that's true. Tully got sent a whole bunch of videos by Krusty, and they want us to believe that he was like, that he didn't click on any of them, and that he went back and watched the episodes himself, that he would ask Kate Peter, what episode is that from? And go back and watch it. But we don't have a single email from him responding to her and saying, like, where can I find this? Like that. No, unless they're withholding discovery from us, we haven't seen anything of the sort. D.L. Tully apparently renamed the edits he made from Mr. Kearney's episodes such that they didn't accurately reflect the names created by Mr. Kearney, and saved them in folders that he created, which included at least one folder named Intent. So that's big. So they renamed all my videos, all my shows. They call them episode this, whatever. And they make it sound more nefarious than it actually is. All right. And we always assumed that it was 𝗵𝘀𝗄𝗏 that did it, right? We always assumed that 𝗵𝘀𝗄𝗏 had renamed the videos and sent them in. And I still believe that. And so about 2 weeks ago, someone from our team speaks with Brian Tully, and he tells her that I did it. I renamed the videos. He pulls the Spartacus. Okay. I am 𝗵𝘀𝗄𝗏. I am the crust. I am the crust. I am the crust. They're all crust. They're all taking the fall for her. And why would he do that? Because that's deceptive, to take intentionally deceptive. Like, you're trying to prejudice the jury into thinking. Titles are very important, folks. Titles are very important because it's like when I title an episode, that's what the overall theme of the 3-hour show is. It's what people will search for. It's the primary topic. And so they would take one random quote out of context and make it the title. And it makes it seem like, and they would take like the most dastardly sounding thing that I said, and they would make it the title. And then they would say, oh, look at him. He's so dastardly. He's proud of it. You know, it definitely prejudices the jury 100%. So we assumed 𝗵𝘀𝗏 did that, but Tully's like, oh, I did it. I'm the crust. Why would he do this? And I get it. And in my opinion, this has been a mystery amongst great thinkers about why he is taking the fall for this. And the only conclusion that I can reach is it's just too embarrassing to admit that this whole thing involves the crust. Like, that's embarrassing. Like, Tully pretends like he's like a real police detective, like when he's on the stand and he's like, got a suit on, he acts all serious. He's like so matter of fact and proper and blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, you outsourced your investigation to something called 𝗵𝘀𝗏 panties. He can't admit that. Like, he can't admit it. He doesn't have it in him to admit that, like, yeah, we're kind of running like a clown show here. Like, we just outsource our work to 𝗵𝘀𝗏 panties. He was like obsessed. Like, he can't admit it. That would be professionally embarrassing. And so he has to act like, no. She just gives us some tips. She's the source. And then I did it. I renamed them. Okay. Sure you did, Tully. The edited and renamed files in the intent folders that Tully created were the exact files that became the exhibits that Mr. Mello introduced and Tully described before the grand jury. Mr. Mello's direction of the grand jury proceeding made a mockery of Mr. Kearney's right to due process, the cumulative impact of which impaired the integrity of the grand jury proceeding and prejudiced Mr. Kearney. He littered the grand jury proceeding with his improper comments, unsworn opinions of the evidence, and Mr. Kearney's intent, and by twice eliciting Tully's opinion that Kearney's intended to intimidate witnesses. So this guy's never been a prosecutor before, ever. I don't even know if he's done any real defense cases. I can't imagine anyone hiring him. But this is all new for him. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. And so, like, he doesn't know how a grand jury works. So he just got up there and kind of winged it. And is like, oh, yeah, in my opinion, Mr. Kearney is guilty of witness intimidation, and he's going to go to jail for a long time. He's a bad dude. And it's just, apparently that's a big no-no. A big no-no. And we're hoping Judge Doolin realizes that. Goes on to say, and yes, I'm told that to tell the people, Olivia wants me to tell the people that they can view all of the video title changes on page 62 in the motion. Yes, we're going to get to that. We're going to go all through the entire motion, and you'll see the whole thing. Okay. Mr. Mello provided the grand jury with improper legal instructions and failed to give appropriate limiting instructions. He improperly alerted the grand jury about the possible sentences associated with the crimes, and even a charge for which he did not seek an indictment. He dedicated the first day of the grand jury proceeding to dirtying up Mr. Kearney through his introduction of irrelevant and prejudicial evidence related to uncharged allegations of Mr. Kearney wiretapping Steve Scanlon, a topic unrelated to the witness intimidation allegations before the grand jury. So there were grand jury dates for me on November 28th, which I had a court date in Stoughton that day. And that means Mello knew about it. And so Mello, we had an afternoon hearing in Stoughton that day. That means that Mello earlier in the day was in Dedham conducting the grand jury and didn't alert the court to this, right? At my Stoughton hearing that day. And so that's November 28th. Then on December 5th, there's another grand jury. Five or six witnesses are called. And then on December 12th, another one, and December 19th. And then I'm indicted on December 20th. They vote to indict me. But on the November 28th one, the only witness that day was Steve Scanlon. Now, some of you might not know who Steve Scanlon is, right? Steve Scanlon is the initial whistleblower of this whole thing. Steve Scanlon knows where the bodies are. Like, that guy knows something, I'm telling you. He's covering shit up. He's a shady dude. So I knew about Steve Scanlon. Went to David Yanetti's office, I believe, on either February 2nd or 3rd. And he said that he had information or reason to believe that John O'Keefe was not killed by Karen Reed, not hit by a car, that he was inside Brian Albert's house. And he's like, I know Brian Albert, and I'm a private investigator. And he was inside that house, and he was attacked by an ATF agent. He knew that there was an ATF agent in there, and the nephew. And that was the first time that the Reed defense team became aware of the existence of Colin inside that house. And it starts clicking with Karen. That was the first, because she was kind of like confused before that. Like, how could this happen? How is he dead? Could I have hit him? What the hell happened? I didn't hit him. Like, did I not realize it? Like, she's like, things are going through her head. Like, how did this happen? And then this guy comes forward and he's like, tells him what happened, and it all clicks. And I talked to then they ask him to sign an affidavit, and he gets cold feet and he just bounces on him. So I called Scanlon in June of 2023, and I spoke with him. I interviewed him. And, he told me, he's like, oh yeah. He's a real crowd pleaser. If you hear the tape, he's like, oh yeah. I called I went to them, and it just didn't seem right. What didn't seem right about it, Scanlon? Oh yeah. He goes, the injuries, they just didn't match up. The injuries. I go, how did you know about what the injuries were on February 3rd? There was no autopsy report out yet. Like, there's no pictures of him. There was no dog bite. Like, nobody knew about any of this shit yet. Like, how did you know what the injuries were on that day? And he goes, I learned it from your reporting. He goes, my reporting? I didn't report on it until 15 months later. Oh, no, you did. No, I learned, I call it. Yeah. It was just so obvious that he was lying to me and covering something up. Like, he was kissing my ass at the end of the call. He goes like, hey, just one more thing. He goes, keep up the great fucking work. Okay, Scanlon. And he's a snake. He knows something's up. He came forward. He just didn't want to snitch on Brian Albert. He didn't want to be known as the snitch because he knows Brian Albert. And so he didn't want to be known as the guy who snitched on Brian Albert, big bad Brian Albert. But he knows things, man. That guy knows what's up. I'm telling you, that guy knows what's up. I don't know how. Nobody knows how. He wasn't there that night. Some people, like, was his daughter. I think he's from Sharon. And maybe his daughter knows somebody. His daughter wasn't there that night, but like maybe his daughter runs in the social circle and people were talking. Who knows? But yeah, he could have been a hero. Instead, he chose to be a clown. and a witness at a grand jury, because as you're going to see, a tape was presented to the grand jury by Krusty Panties of Steve Scanlon and I talking, and we're going to get to that. Okay. Mr. Mello and Tully misled the grand jury by limiting evidence of Kearney's intent to Tully's edits of his episodes, which left the grand jury with inaccurate information about the names, length, and context of Mr. Kearney's episodes, rather than affording the grand jury access to his authentic episodes, which would have provided it with the accurate and favorable context of Mr. Kearney's statements. At least 28 times during the course of the grand jury proceeding, Mr. Mello elicited from D.L. Tully materially false and misleading testimony about Mr. Kearney's YouTube episodes, which gave the grand jury the false impression that he created the episodes to document his alleged intimidation of witnesses. So let's just jump to the chart that Olivia made here, which was fantastic. Check this out. These are the 28 times that it was mentioned during the grand jury. Okay. So for instance, we have the day of the grand jury transcript, the episode title that they gave the title. So this is the episode title that they presented to the grand jury. This is the actual title. And then I like this. This is the duration of what they call the episode, the clip that they play, and the actual duration of the episode. So on December 5th, they presented the grand jury what they call episode 594 or 585, confronting McCabe's outside Norfolk Superior Court. Okay. And episode 619, need to go to McCabe's soccer game again. The actual title, Karen Reed case. Where is Michael Proctor? 23 seconds they played of a 2 hour and 15-second episode. I mean, I don't know what the most egregious one that they misnamed was, but how about this one? Episode 595. Can kick Colin Albert's ass. I mean, that's a threat. That's like a physical. They're suggesting that's a physical threat. They're like, well, first of all, if you can kick someone's ass, that's not a threat. Simply saying I can kick any like elderly person's ass, right? That doesn't mean I'm threatening them. I'm just stating a fact, like I could, you know? And so that's not a threat, simply saying that, but it does sound like you're physically threatening someone. Like that can, see what I'm saying? It's meant to deceive. Can kick Colin Albert's ass. Actual title, Kendra Lara, Sean interview, Paul O'Keefe and Carl defend Canton murderers. Or episode 616, trying to destroy Colin Albert's life. So that's like, and notice this, it's in the intent folder. So he's got a whole folder called intent, because you can't be charged with witness intimidation if it's not your intent to try to get them to change their testimony. It's a critical aspect to witness intimidation is intent. So if you have a folder called intent that you keep telling the grand jury you're taking videos out of, they named the folder intent, and they tell the grand jury the folder's called intent 1 million times. And then the name of the episode in the intent folder is trying to destroy Colin Albert's life. Then it makes it seem like my intent is to destroy Colin Albert's life. But that's not what my intent is to do. My intent is to expose what happened to John O'Keefe. That's what my intent was. Okay. And the title of the episode was Karen Reed case. Commonwealth tells more lies about John O'Keefe's GPS data. There you go. If they could indict me on the videos alone, then why would you need to change the title? That's my question. Like, why change the name? If they thought they had enough, if the content of the videos enough was witness intimidation, then why change the titles? Why? What do they need to do that for? They lied. They said that this is the name of the episode. Not we named it this, or this is what we're calling it, or this is a quote from the clip. No, episode number, they said. Like he named it this. How about this one? Life as Normal is Over, episode 598. Actual one. Breaking. Karen Reed defense files motion to recuse Judge Cannoni. How about this one? Impromptu live. Alberts should be afraid. That would sound, is that from the intent folder? Of course it is. Of course it's from the intent folder. If I said that the Alberts should be afraid, then it sounds like that's my intent, is to make them afraid. And that's a lot stronger for witness intimidation. You know, if that's the name of the episode, ooh, because I'm intending to make you guys afraid. What's the actual title? Impromptu live. Karen Reed's parents go on Boston 25 News and new bombshell information. Oh, that sounds a little different. That sounds slightly different, I think. A little bit. Or how about this? Not leaving the second generation out of it. Actual title, Karen Reed case. Attorney Bob Motta discusses Friday's hearing. Oh. Life as Normal is Over. Episode 598, they gave 2 names. Oh, no, I already read that one. Okay. What about, how about this? Enjoying watching witnesses squirm. Actual title, 𝗵𝗴𝗄𝗧, Jill Daniels, Carl Dougal, Taillight Mystery, Liz Proctor. They probably just didn't want to say the word 𝗵𝗴𝗄𝗧 in front of a grand jury, because they might get the impression that this guy is some sort of comedian who makes jokes and calls people 𝗵𝗴𝗄𝗧s, right? Or how about this one? I do not want this to go to trial. Bro, they named the episode, I do not want this to go to trial, and put it in the intent folder. They played a 16-second clip out of a 2-hour and 56-minute show. Actual title, Colin Albert drops out of school. Is Brian Higgins flipping? Is the end near? Okay. I mean, that's slightly different from, it makes it sound like my intent is to obstruct justice, prevent this from going to trial. No right to live peacefully. I've got pictures of you. Albert should be afraid. Or how about this one? Talk about prejudicing the jury. Rolling rally. Don't feel bad for the O'Keeffes. The hell do the O'Keeffes have to do with anything? Why are they playing clips of the grand jury where we're talking about the O'Keeffes? What does that do besides prejudice the jury? They never tried to indict me for intimidating the O'Keeffes. It was for the McAlberts. There's no intimidation of any O'Keeffes in here. So why are they even playing a clip where I'm saying don't feel bad for the O'Keeffes? The only reason to play that is just to make me seem like a insensitive, bad dude who says don't feel bad for the victim's family. That's all that is. But that's not what the show is called. Here's the actual title of the show. This is probably the most misleading one. The actual title is The Justice for Karen Reed and John O'Keefe Rolling Rally. That's the actual title. That's just slightly different. One makes it seem like I'm shitting on the dead guy's family. The other one makes it seem like I'm fighting for justice for him. You tell me how that could prejudice the mind of a human being on the grandest of all the juries. All right, back to this. Despite numerous defense demands for specific evidence from September to August, the DA has failed to disclose exculpatory or discoverable evidence, or at a minimum, explain what efforts, if any, it made to locate the requested evidence. We know that. The defense made a prior motion to dismiss the indictments without access to important, undisclosed evidence that was in the Commonwealth's possession, custody, and control prior to the filing of this motion. So that answers the question I asked earlier about, like, didn't you guys already do an Odell motion to dismiss? Yes. But they didn't give us a whole bunch of discovery that we could have used in the first motion to dismiss. All of this stuff could have been useful. Communications between Mr. Peter, Mr. Mello, and D.L. Tully, which are relevant to dismiss the indictment, have been in their custody and control since 2023 and were the subject of specific demands in September of 24, October of 24, and October 17th of 24. These are the Bederow letters. So they always make fun of Bederow and like, oh, is he going to write a letter? No, motherfucker, this is all by design. That was us being gentlemen. That was us seeing if they were decent and actually wanted to play by the rules. They chose this instead. So now we have to do it this way. So we gave them a shot, but we outlined this all already. We made demands, and they did not give us this stuff. Mr. 𝗪𝗏 forwarded many of his communications relevant to the instant motion to dismiss the indictment to co-counsel Robert Cosgrove on December 16th, 2024. But Cosgrove did not provide them to the defense until July 7th, 2025. So Cosgrove, we got an email that 𝗪𝗏 forwarded to Cosgrove in December of 24, showing us communications with 𝗺𝗵𝗵𝗧𝗂𝗏. And we didn't have those when we filed our motion to dismiss. But Cosgrove had it and withheld it from us. So he gave it to us in July after the motion to dismiss failed. So he's literally holding on to evidence that we'd already asked for, that he said didn't exist. And then we filed the motion to dismiss. We didn't know any of this stuff. They literally just hide. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. On September 4th, 25, the defense learned for the first time that 𝗪𝗏 apparently edited and renamed Kearney's content, and that this altered evidence later became the exhibits. So again, he's taken the fall for 𝗺𝗵𝗏 because it's too embarrassing to say that he outsourced it to her. The communications between and among Miss Peter, 𝗪𝗏, and 𝗪𝗏 recently disclosed by the Commonwealth established that the defense still hasn't been provided with private video links Miss Peter sent directly to 𝗪𝗏 and 𝗪𝗏. So we've got emails where she sends them links and they're gone. Photographs and other evidence Miss Peter sent 𝗬𝗏𝗁, and communications between Peter and 𝗪𝗏 regarding the assistance that she provided 𝗪𝗏 immediately before he accessed Kearney's actual episodes and edited them, changed their names. So again, 𝗪𝗏 claims that he got sent these video clips from her, but being the real thorough detective that he is, he's like, wait a minute. I need to know what episode this came from. But the problem is there isn't a single email from him asking that. So next. All right. We got number 38 here. The DA now claims that numerous private links containing discoverable information about Mr. Kearney that Miss Peter provided to 𝗪𝗏 and 𝗪𝗏 has since been deleted by a private party, Miss Peter. So she destroyed evidence. The Commonwealth has represented that 𝗪𝗏 has never opened any unsolicited links emailed to him by Peter. Notably, they have not and cannot say the name. They say the same about 𝗪𝗏, who not only opened private links sent to him by Miss Peter, but sent them to 𝗪𝗏 for him to review. So he gets a lot of stuff from 𝗺𝗵𝗏, and we have their communications. Therefore, favorable and discoverable and evidence that indisputably was in the Commonwealth's actual possession is no longer available. So they destroyed evidence. Kearney has been prejudiced by the non-disclosure and or destruction of exculpatory and discoverable evidence because the defense has been deprived of critical, substantive, and impeachment evidence in the support of the claim that the DA's biased and shoddy investigation relied upon unvetted and possibly tampered evidence from a source with a patently obvious motive to falsely accuse Mr. Kearney and with a track record of doctoring evidence against him on at least 2 occasions. 𝗺𝗏𝗏. Mr. 𝗪𝗏's communications with 𝗪𝗏 and Miss Peter regarding her relationship with and production of evidence to the prosecution, the likelihood that he will contradict 𝗪𝗏's claim that he never reviewed private links sent by Miss Peter, his knowledge of Miss Peter's motive to falsely accuse Mr. Kearney, and her overall lack of credibility, his knowledge that 𝗪𝗏 edited and renamed evidence that he later introduced to the grand jury, and his conduct before the grand jury, which included eliciting false and misleading testimony from 𝗪𝗏, supports Mr. Kearney's defense and will make him an essential defense witness at trial. Like, bro, not even kidding. If God forbid this actually ever makes it to trial, which I doubt, our star witness is Ken Mello, like without a doubt. So he better not die on us. All right, he better not pull that card. Okay, we're gonna haul his ass in there. I don't care, tubes and everything. He's gonna free Turtleboy. Mello is. You best believe. Goes on to say, Mr. Mello's communications with D.L. Tully and Miss Peter regarding her relationship with and production of evidence to the prosecution. No, I already read that. Mr. Mello has also made himself a material witness when on November 5th, in his official capacity as Mr. Kearney's prosecutor, he called the police advocating on behalf of witness Chris Albert. Remember that? When the Canton Nine were protesting outside of D&E Pizza Shop, who did he call? Did he call the police? No. He called Mello, 1-800-MELLO. And Mello called the police for him. And he thus made himself a witness in that. And they're suggesting, of course, that I was the one that did this. So, Mr. Mello's conduct and credibility will be key issues at trial, and it would therefore be improper for him. There would be improper for him to represent the Commonwealth and defend himself as an unsworn witness. Mello must be disqualified under Rule 3.7, which says that lawyers shall not act as an advocate at a trial in which the lawyer is likely a necessary witness. He's already been disqualified from the Gattani case, the fake victim case. Accordingly, for the reasons detailed in this affidavit, its exhibits and accompanying memorandum of law, the court should dismiss the indictments against Mr. Kearney and disqualify Mello, or in the alternative, order an evidentiary hearing on the motions because the prosecution has prejudiced Mr. Kearney in intentionally impairing the integrity of the grand jury and failing to disclose specifically requested exculpatory evidence, etc. So he's a witness. Okay. The need to silence Mr. Kearney. Let's talk about this. On April 10th, we haven't had any redactions so far, but now we're going to start getting into them. On April 10th, Miss McCabe and the Alberts learned that they were the subjects of a federal investigation into the Commonwealth's investigation of Mr. O'Keefe's death. Colin Albert was served with the grand jury subpoena on April 10th. Miss McCabe was served. Brian Albert, Mr. Proctor, Higgins, Kerry Roberts, and others were also served federal grand jury subpoenas. Ms. McCabe was briefly interviewed by FBI agents on the morning of April 10th. She told at least 2 material lies to the FBI. She lied to the FBI by initially claiming that she was her sister, Nicole. Ms. McCabe lied to the FBI about phone calls that she made to Brian Albert and Kerry Roberts and others immediately after she was approached by FBI agents. Although she testified at Ms. Reed's 2025 trial that she was cooperative with law enforcement, Ms. McCabe terminated her FBI interview within minutes. On April, we know all this already, but it's interesting that how is this making its way into my case? You'll see. On April 10th at 9 a.m. on information and belief, immediately after Ms. McCabe called Ms. Roberts while FBI agents were waiting to speak with her, a call Ms. McCabe lied to the agents about. Ms. Roberts asked Stephen Nelson, the DA's victim witness advocate, blank. So you don't get to know what Jennifer McCabe asked Steve Nelson on April 10th, the day she got visited by the FBI. I know what she said, and it's in the text messages, but you don't get to know that one because you don't get to read as members of the public about communications between key witnesses in a murder case in your government in a trial in which you paid over $1.5 million for Hank Brennan and Judd Wiltshire to enrich themselves in blue paint. Okay? You don't get to know about that. Sorry, you paid for this all, but you don't get to know about it. On April 10th at 12:03, Miss Roberts and Miss McCabe, oh boy, I wonder what they did on that day. Miss Roberts, ooh, I wonder what she said. Oh, there's a footnote. See, guys, context clues. I can't say. I don't even know what's in these redactions. I can't see it. I didn't memorize the whole thing. I have an idea, but the footnotes might give you clues about what's happening here. So let's check out footnote 3. Miss Roberts did speak to the FBI, as revealed in her testimony at Miss Reed's trial. She repudiated her 2022 grand jury testimony, where she falsely swore that she heard Miss Reed and Miss McCabe Google how long to die in cold sometime after 6 p.m. In 2023, after being read warnings by the FBI, she admitted she didn't hear Miss Reed ask Miss McCabe to make the Google search. So, I wonder what she said there. On April 12th, 2023, just 2 days after Miss McCabe had been rattled by the FBI, Miss Reed's defense filed the 90-page motion that got my attention. It alleged significant and reliable evidence that implicated McCabe and Brian Albert in Mr. O'Keefe's death. Miss Reed's motion accused Miss McCabe of Googling how long to die in cold. Miss Reed's defense further alleged it had uncovered significant evidence Miss McCabe had taken affirmative steps to delete and tamper with evidence, and in good faith belief Brian Albert had done the same. Suffice to say that between April 10th and April 17th, 1 day prior to my first publication of the Can't Cover Up series, Miss McCabe and the Alberts had strong reason to be concerned about their legal situation and the adverse impact on their public reputations that would result from media coverage of scrutiny. That would result from media coverage or scrutiny. So that they're worried. Again, if you're Jenny McCabe, everything's going good, right? You got away with murder. And then on April 10th, the feds show up for some fucking reason. You're like, what the fuck? What is this all about? The feds are here, ice cream truck. What the hell's going on? And then on April 12th, this affidavit gets filed in court, alleging that Jen McCabe did the Google search. And she's like, you think of what she was feeling at that time. She got away with murder. And then they figured it out. They figured out her dirty little secret. They knew what she did. She's like, fuck. 15 months later, she thought she got away with this. She thought, I deleted the Google search. I Googled it again at 624. I'm good. We got away with it. And then this filing comes out on April 12th. And they know everything. They figured out everything. They figured out John was in the house, going up and down 3 flights of stairs. They know about the dog bites. They figured it all out. They cracked the case. Okay. But so they're shitting their pants, and she Googled herself on February 2nd. Picture how much she was Googling herself on April 13th. Like, is anyone talking about me? Because it said sister-in-law. It didn't even say Jennifer McCabe in any of the reporting. It didn't say Brian Albert. No one was saying their names. No one. And that's where Daddy came in. Okay. And it did some real reporting. Naming names. Because it's in the filings, and the media was too gutless and too scared to report on who these people were. I wasn't scared of them. So I put their names out there, and I made Jennifer McCabe a household name. Okay. Nobody knew who Jennifer McCabe was before this outside of Canton, right? She was just a normal mom, right? That's all she was. A normal soccer mom who covers up murders every once in a while. But I made Jennifer McCabe a household name, which is what she feared more than anything. She's not in physical fear, fear of physical harm or anything like that. She's in fear of being exposed for what she is. So they were worried about the impact that their reputations would receive, that they got and that they received from the FBI and or from the Reed defense's allegations of their complicity in Mr. O'Keefe's death. Footnote 4. Oh, we got a whole bunch of redactions here. Okay. So again, this is about Miss McCabe being nervous. Miss McCabe was concerned with being publicly associated in any way with Mr. O'Keefe's death. On January 30th at 8:06, she Googled BPD and John O'Keefe. On February 1st, she Googled John O'Keefe. On February 2nd, 2022, this is the day John O'Keefe is, that 𝗂𝗏 is brought. She's arrested on the night of February 1st. She spends the night in the state police barracks in Milton, and then gets hauled into Stoughton, and she is arraigned at around 9:30 or 10, probably 10 o'clock. She's arraigned, and it's a 30-minute arraignment, and Jennifer McCabe is there. And let me show you something. You guys want to see it? Have you guys ever watched that arraignment video? Because I got it queued up here. All right, let me cue this up for you guys. So this is let's see, do we have it? Is it? Oh, tell me this is playing. Come on. Let me get out of that real quick. Let me refresh it. Oh, it's gone. Where'd that video go? The video's gone. I had it all queued up. WCVB took it down. Why'd they take that down? Okay, I got another one. I can use. Wow, that's shady. Why would they take that down? We got this one instead. We got the YouTube version of it. No big deal.
Without bail. Morning, Mr. Genetic. Morning, Mr. Lely.
Good morning, Ron.
All right. Mr. Lely.
Your Honor, with the court permission, could I just pull the masks?
The masks, like the masks.
Your Honor, out to the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is requesting the court set a cash bail in this matter in the amount of $50,000 with some additional conditions. Those conditions being...
Oh, let's look who's in court. You guys ever look at this and see who's there? See who you recognize here.
The bail warnings is just...
So there's Paul and his dad and Aaron and Steve Nelson.
Read by Your Honor to the defendants, as well as conditions that she stay away and have no contact with the deceased victim's family, that she stay away and have no contact with EMS. Officer 𝗬𝗏 was the first to arrive on scene and observed 3 females waving at in the vicinity. They secured the glass and 6 blood samples from that area as evidence. Troopers from the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, specifically Sergeant Buchanan and Trooper Proctor, then arrived at the scene, began the process. They also spoke to several witnesses. Specifically, they spoke to Ms. Jennifer McCabe. She stated that the evening prior, she and some friends were at the Waterfall bar located within the town of Kansas, including Ms. Roberts. During the course of Ms. Roberts' interview, she indicated that she was initially contacted by the defendant, Ms. Reed, at 5 a.m. That she answered the phone to hear the defendant state, "John's dead. 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵, I wonder if he's dead. It's knowing he got hit by a plow." The troopers also on the 29th proceeded to the defendant's parents' home in Dayton, Massachusetts, where the victim numerous times with no response.
All right, so this is it. So they scan the crowd here, okay? Let's see who we got. There's John Jackson, the guy that says a lot of nothing every time he speaks. There's a few others here I recognize that's different with the masks. Like some of these guys I think are cops. Like this is when cops used to show up to support John O'Keefe. They stopped at the route. There's Bukkake in the back standing up like a douchebag.
He's also interviewed several first.
But who's over here?
Responders.
Who's right behind Peggy? See, I saw that they zoom in on this chick. Now, keep in mind, we got all their text messages from this day. And you best believe they're watching this shit like a hawk. Right? They are like, what's going on here? Do you guys see Jennifer McCabe in this? Just look for her. Because she's here. I did not realize she's in this. See if you guys can see when you see.
Indicated that
that's not her. That's not Jen McCabe.
Went to speak.
I don't know who that one is.
Any sort of prior medical issues or causality of the injuries that she observed in his face, to which the defendants then made several statements to her, indicating, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him."
Oh, God.
Missing from the red and clear areas. On the right side of the rear tailgate, a deep scratch and minor dent was observed. On the right side of the rear bumper, above a small.
As well in 2013, continued to have digestion issues and.
Dude, he looks so different. David Yannetti looks so different in just a couple of years.
And this past summer, my client unfortunately was diagnosed with having a brain tumor as a result of migraines that she had never had here. And in addition, her family is here. Her parents are present in the courtroom. Her brother and her sister-in-law are present in the courtroom. And Your Honor, just so the court's aware, I'd like to have a letter that I sent to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office this weekend. It was faxed on Saturday, where I promised that my client would appear if they just called me. All they had to do was notify me, and I wrote right in the letter that she would report to any police barracks or police station or courthouse to which they directed me. They ignored that and instead got an arrest.
All right, so this is what I noticed. Let's see. Tell me if you recognize anyone. Let me slow this down to regular speed here. Oh, there's Brendan Kane. Yeah. There was someone with the pom-pom on their head. See that one? Look at this one right here. Walk by with the pom-pom. I'm going to go real slow. See that one right there with the pom-pom hat? That's Jennifer McCabe. I figured this out. That's Jenny McCabe right there. She wore a hat in court because she was hiding her identity. She did not want to be seen on telling you, bro, the McAlberts in that little group chat they had there with Nicole Albert and Matt McCabe, tell them the guy never went in the house. That was like the freak out chat. That was like and the last thing they wanted was for them to be seen on TV. They did not want their names mentioned in this. Remember when Kenny Berkowitz wrote that Twitter message to Mike Ciccone, the reporter at Boston 25 News, and said, can you take Brian Albert's name out of your tweet? Because Brian Albert is a pillar of the community and he shouldn't have his name out there. They were petrified of even having their names mentioned by any of this shit. So they don't want to be seen there. They don't want to have their names. Like Lally mentions Jennifer McCabe's name like 5 or 6 times in that, opening in his whole, whatever, he reads the charging documents there. So anyway, that's on February 2nd when this is all going on. At around 10 o'clock that starts. So that's the timeline. All right. So the night before, after Karen Reed's arrested on February 1st, Jennifer McCabe Googles John O'Keefe. And then on February 2nd, 2022 at 10:54 a.m., this is after the arraignment, in a text message to her daughter, blank. So you don't get to see what Jennifer McCabe told Allie McCabe at 10:54. You don't get to see that. But you do know that it happened right after court ended, in which Jennifer McCabe was wearing a pom-pom hat in court to disguise herself and not be seen. Okay? She did not want to be seen. And so she sends her daughter a message while her daughter's still in school telling her something. On February 2nd at 11:37 a.m., she Googled Jennifer McCabe because why? Why would she Google Jennifer McCabe? People was like, why would she Google herself? Because her name was just mentioned a whole bunch of times by Adam Lally in court. And now she's freaking out because she's like, oh, fuck. Are they talking about me? Do they know about me? The last thing any of these people wanted to do was have their names in any of this shit. They did not want their name. They didn't even, they should have thrown them on the Asian lawn. Then there would be someone else's problem. I don't know why they didn't do that. Right. But yeah. So anyway, goes on to say, despite their concern about being mentioned in the growing media coverage, less than 72 hours after Mr. O'Keefe's death. Oh, this pains me. Miss McCabe and Miss Roberts, yada, yada, yada. Like, bro, again, this redaction right here, I can't get into what's in that redaction. It is the best. It's the best. It is the fucking best. And you don't get to know what's in there. No one does. Karen Reed hasn't even seen that one. And it is the best. And it's going to come out. Just remember this. Page 19 in the footnote, the redacted part, you don't get to know what Miss McCabe and Miss Roberts talked about. Again, context clues here. Despite their concern. So what does that suggest is in this? So despite their concern about their names being mentioned in the growing media coverage. So despite not wanting to be famous, right? I mean, that's what they're saying right there. That's what Bederow is saying. Despite their concern about not wanting their names out there, because they're very concerned about having their names out there, right? So that suggests that whatever is redacted, right, in this, we're doing context clues together, would suggest that they are not concerned with having their names out there, that they have some sort of ulterior motive. I wonder what that could be. I wonder what that could be. Maybe we'll find out someday. Anyway, back to this. Hopefully we'll find out soon, because I think the public has a right to know what they said to each other. Okay. On April 18th, Miss McCabe's and the Alberts' concerns were amplified when Mr. Kearney, citing the publicly filed defense motions, blew the lid off the Reed case by publishing his first Canton cover-up article. After Kearney posted his first story about the Reed case, the DA sought to muzzle him in response to numerous complaints from Miss McCabe and the Alberts, who had substantial access to and influence with the DA. Right after I started writing about this, let's see what the footnote 5 says. Brian Albert was a longtime Boston police officer. He had a personal relationship with Police Chief Ken Berkowitz. Kevin Albert was and is a Canton police officer. Chris Albert had recently been elected to the Board of Selectmen. Members of the Albert family had a personal relationship with Proctor. Miss McCabe had personal relationships with members of the Canton Police Department who were involved in the Reed case. Interesting. Okay. On April 20th, 2023, no doubt concerned about the viral dissemination of Mr. Kearney's article. So this is 2 days after I write my first Canton cover-up story. Miss McCabe blank. So no doubt, again, the context clues, no doubt concerned about the viral dissemination of Mr. Kearney's article. What does she do? We just mentioned in the previous paragraph that they have crazy access to the DA. So what do you think Jennifer McCabe could have done on April 20th, besides smoke a joint, 2023? And what do you think she would say? What do you think she would say about, like, what would a control freak like Jennifer McCabe say? And what would she do? Because that was bad news. I mean, that article comes out. Now she's famous. Now she's the Google search lady. She is public enemy number one. And this is a woman who's used to being in control. She is not going to stay quiet about this. Okay. We'll see. On information and belief, in response to Miss McCabe's blank, which would become a constant refrain, the DA publicly stated that it would disprove the Reed defense's allegation about the timing of Miss McCabe's Google search. So in the next paragraph, we see that in response to paragraph 66, the DA's office in paragraph 67 says that they are going to disprove the Google search. So something happens on April 20th, and then the DA's office says they're going to disprove it. Because if you guys look up this, can't cover up part 3. That's how I knew this was a real cover up. Because I wrote part 1 and I thought this thing's over. This is ridiculous. They have to drop this. They have to arrest the bad guys. Wouldn't want to be in Jennifer McCabe's shoes right now, right? They're fucked. But then 2 days later, on April 20th, 2023, the DA's office comes out with the statement. And what do they say? We are going to disprove the Google search. That's out there. David Traub releases a press state release on April 20th, on the same day that, according to paragraph 66, Jennifer McCabe, who is very concerned about the viral dissemination of my article, does something. And then, like clockwork, the DA's office issues a press release saying this. Now, I keep seeing Whiffen and Hyde. No, they don't contact Whiffen for the first time until what? I think like September or October of 23. And they don't even know who Jessica Hyde is on April 20th, 2023. They don't. Their first communication that they have with Jessica Hyde is May 5th. They never talked to her before that. And then, but that's 2 weeks later after April 20th. So how could they know for sure on April 20th that they were going to disprove? How did they know that Jessica Hyde was going to reach the conclusion that she did on April 20th? How did they know that? How could they be so sure? What her conclusion? How did they know what Ian Whiffen was going to say when they put out this statement saying that? It's almost as if something happened to them. It's almost as if something happened that made them suddenly issue this press release saying that. So I wonder what that could be. Maybe it's redacted, whatever that is. I don't know. You don't get to know. You don't get to know. You pay for this shit. You work all day. They take all the money out of your salary. They pay all these people. You don't get to know. That's none of your business. None of your business, taxpayers. Notwithstanding the DA's attempt to triage. Oh, here we go. Oh, no. Footnote. Although the DA literally responded to the April 12th, 2023 defense motion, Ms. McCabe didn't demand that the DA do something, in quotes there, until Mr. Kearney's reporting of her Google search. Gee whiz, I don't remember seeing anything about do something up here. I don't see do something up here, but I do see it here. So Jennifer McCabe, and it's in quotes, that means she said it, right? So she's demanding that the DA do something. If you were in her shoes and this comes out, this Google search story, wouldn't you want him to do something? And then what did they do on April 20th? They did something, right? They did something. They put out a press release saying, no, we're going to disprove this. How did they know? How did they know on April 20th that they were going to disprove this? They couldn't have known that. They hadn't spoken to Jessica Hyde yet. For all they knew, if they gave the phone extraction to Jessica Hyde, she would confirm what Richard Green reached. Like, how did they know what conclusion Jessica Hyde, who they didn't even know existed, would reach? How could they know? There's no way they could know. Unless they were just told to do something. Do something. Until Mr. Kearney's reporting emphasized her Google search and implicated her in the cover-up of death. That's interesting too, because April 12th, this information comes out. April 12th, the information about the Google search comes out. It's in the, but you know, it's in the filing, but none of the media says the name Jennifer McCabe. No one does. Does she contact the DA's office on April 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, or 17th and ask them to do something? Nope. Nope. She waits till April 20th. And then they do something. They do something on April 20th. It's almost as if I'm the kind of straw that stirs the drink here, aren't I? Huh. Interesting. It's almost as if they're not worried at all about anyone else's reporting except for mine. Interesting. The DA's knee-jerk defense of Miss McCabe occurred weeks before it hired digital forensic expert, which occurred on or after May 7th, 2023, the day that DA Morrissey excitedly instructed his team to hire Jessica Hyde. Have those emails come out in the public records request? I forget. Did you guys see those emails where he agrees to hire, where he's like, hire her? Have you guys seen those ones? I'm not sure if you've seen those ones, but he gets all excited about that. All right. So you have seen those. Okay, cool. All right. Because she anticipated an opinion that might support the DA's position on Miss McCabe's Google searches because of the possible time zone issue. That, bro, have you guys seen her emails? She first blames it on time zones. So Tully basically goes to her and says, look it, we have a problem here. And here's what I think happened. I think it had something to do with the database and the wall files and all that blah. When you read what Tully tells Jessica Hyde he thinks happened, it's quite literally, word for word, her testimony at the trial. It's a fucking script. And then she sends back her fucking, this is how much I charge. And she initially blames it on time zones. She's like, oh, they probably got the time zones wrong. That's her initial analysis. That's how much of a fucking dumbass Jessica Hyde is, because it's in UTC time. Cellbrite gives you the times initially in UTC, which is Greenwich Mean Time, which is 5 hours ahead. And so and then Tully's like, actually, no, we converted that. So that's wrong. So her initial analysis, like that's what Jessica, and why is she so hungry? It's an interesting word to use considering she's always talking about food, but why is she so hungry to give the district attorney's office some sort of explanation for Jennifer McCabe's cell phone? Like, why did she immediately be like, oh, it's time zones. Time zones did it. Yeah, why? Why would she feel the need to exonerate Jennifer McCabe and then send her rate card and say, this is how much I charge? Which is like, she does give a discount to police. It's like 25% off, only like $400 an hour or something like that. So let me get this straight. April 20th, they put out a press release saying, we're going to disprove this Google search. May 4th or 5th or whatever, Tully reaches out to Jessica Hyde and says, we need an expert who's going to say this. Here's what I think happened. Wall files, database. And what does she say? Initially, oh, it must be time zones, but I like that too. Yeah, sure. I'll say that. Give me $500 an hour. Basically just says, like, whatever you want me to say, I'm say it. So there you go. Notwithstanding his attempt to triage the metastasizing scandal by publicly defending Miss McCabe, things continued to get worse for her and the Alberts by the day, Jennifer McCabe. Mr. Kearney's reporting led Miss Reed's modestly attended court appearances become newsworthy events overflowing with supporters and media. Her support became so great that before both her trials, the court ordered a buffer zone. On April 18th, Miss Reed's support increased exponentially. Her growing throng of supporters regularly protested and held standouts outside of the DA's office and all these other places. On May 9th, the DA wrote to the U.S. Attorney's Office seeking information about the federal investigation after being notified about the issuance of at least 2 federal subpoenas. How did they find out about the federal subpoenas? Well, they all got them on April 10th, didn't they? Who do you think would be the first person? Suppose you're Kerry Roberts and the feds show up and give you a subpoena. Who you calling? Who do you think Kerry Roberts is going to call in that situation? What's she going to do? Obviously Jennifer McCabe, right? But I'm talking about like Jen. No. Who's she going to call and like ask about what to do with this? Yeah, besides Jen. I'm talking about, yeah, there you go. Some people are saying it. Okay. Yeah. Who's she going to call and ask them? Let's suppose she calls the DA's office and ask them, what's going on with this? Do you think the DA had any idea what was going on? No. They were probably just as surprised as she was. Picture how juicy those are if text messages like that exist. Anyway, on May 18th, the DA sought the recusal of the U.S. Attorney's Office. On May 24th, so this is a hearing. On May 24th, there is a hearing that day. There is an evidentiary hearing scheduled for May 25th. But Auntie Bev wants a special hearing on May 24th to decide whether or not they will have an evidentiary hearing. And she holds the hearing and decides they're not going to have an evidentiary hearing. That's when I realized the judge was in on it too. So, on May 24th, Miss McCabe and Miss Roberts, who are clearly worried about Mr. Kearney's growing influence on public opinion, do blank. What do they say? Gee whiz, I wonder. But whatever it is, it has to do with them being worried about my influence. On May 30th, she tries to get a harassment prevention order against me and fails. Demonstrating her fundamental misunderstanding of the First Amendment, Ms. McCabe alleged that on April 18th, 2023, Mr. Kearney attacked her character by reporting on her. In what amounted to a request for an unconstitutional prior restraint on Mr. Kearney, Ms. McCabe urged the court to do something so he can't blog about me. It's always do something with this woman. Do something. This is like a spoiled child who is used to always getting her way. You have to do something. Do something. I'm telling you, like, this woman got away with murder. Like, it's enraging what this woman did. Enraging that she gets to walk around free like none of this happened. Like she wasn't directly involved in the cover-up of John O'Keefe's murder. The court predictably ruled that however upsetting Mr. Kearney's reporting made Miss McCabe, he was a member of the press and his activity was protected under the First Amendment. On July 1st, Miss McCabe, who frequently asked the courts to do something about Mr. Kearney, oddly contacted him on Facebook Messenger and sent him a photograph of a mostly naked man, John Como. Miss McCabe apologized to Mr. Kearney and then ominously advised him to have fun in Mashpee, where Mr. Kearney was vacationing, which suggested that she keeps tabs on his whereabouts. That was like her being like, so she's real intimidated, right? She tries to get an order on me, fails. A month later, she's sending me nudes of a guy and telling me to have fun, kind of ominously telling me, I know where you're at, bitch. Real scared. On July 13th, in an email with the subject line blank, well, we got Proctor has entered the arena. Mr. Proctor emailed Tully, Fanning, Bukkake, and Adam Lally, referencing Mr. Kearney as blank. Oh, I got a nickname. He gave me a nickname. God damn it. But you can't read the nickname he gave me. Mr. Proctor informed the group blank. Huh. What could he be mad about? Interesting. On July 16th, no doubt reeling from the perfect storm created by the ongoing federal investigation, Ms. Reed's aggressive defense, and the public's increasing awareness of the growing scandal resulting from Mr. Kearney's reporting, D.A. Morrissey, from his personal email address, essentially begged the AG office to prosecute Mr. Kearney for witness intimidation. He's the DA. Why didn't he just charge me himself? If I committed witness intimidation, why didn't he just charge me? Why? Because he knows it would look bad. He's like, wait a minute. He's literally accusing us of covering up a murder. We can't arrest him. Do you understand the optics of that? That would look horrible. So let's just have the AG do it. So he emails Andrea Campbell's office and they don't do shit. They're like, bro, you can't be serious right now, right? Of course, we don't see their response because they've been redacted. But he begged them to do something. On July 21st, he again urged the AG to act against Mr. Kearney on information the day before the rolling rally. So this is the day he finds out about the rolling rally. He contacts the AGO again. Does the AGO do anything? No, because they're like, that doesn't sound illegal. People driving around in cars and protesting on a public street is First Amendment protected, fat boy. On information and belief, the AG declined to prosecute Kearney because it felt it recognized that it was inappropriate to prosecute him for witness intimidation based upon his reporting about witnesses who were upset about being accused and publicly filed documents in a high-profile murder. Footnote 8. 𝗵𝗧 wrote to Tully on December 8th and others bemoaning the AG's conclusion that Mr. Kearney's conduct did not warrant criminal prosecution. So this is months later. On December 8th, he writes an email complaining that why didn't they charge him with witness intimidation? Because this would have been much better for 𝗵𝗧 if the AG's office did it. Then he could be like, whoa, see, it's not us doing it. But he couldn't get anyone to do his dirty work for him. So he hired Ken Mello. And here we are. On July 4th, 2 days after the rolling rally, Miss McCabe told Mr. Nelson blank. I wonder what she could have told him on that day, 2 days after the rolling rally. On August 1st, Chris Albert contacted the DA and blank. I wonder what he said. On August 3rd, General Counsel for the DOJ rejected the DA's request for the Boston U.S. Attorney's Office to recuse itself. That is the infamous email where they said that Josh Levy has a very different understanding of the investigation into John O'Keefe's death. He knows what's up. Levy knows what's up. He didn't do shit, but he knows what's up. On August 9th, Miss McCabe does something. On information and belief, between August 9th and August 25th, Miss McCabe, members of the Albert family, the state police, and 𝗵𝗧 met to discuss Miss McCabe's latest demand for the DA to do something to stop Mr. Kearney from reporting about her. So what happened in July? Well, I had a rolling rally, and I went to the Karen Reed hearing on July 25th. And then on August 8th, I reported about the Lucky Lockwood thing. So what's up with this? Suddenly she demands another meeting or whatever where they do something. On August 25th, this is the day DA 𝗵𝗧 capitulated to the demands and threats of Miss McCabe and the Alberts and decided to do something about Mr. Kearney. The something was a video recorded, the hostage video. So remember, if you're wondering why did 𝗵𝗧 go on TV and do that? Because Jen McCabe told him to. There you go. Mystery solved. Jen McCabe told him to. So he's literally just whatever the witnesses tell him to do, he goes and fucking does it. He looked at the AG's office. They're like, dude, go fuck yourself. We're not doing shit. And he's like, well, I guess I'll have to do something. I'll have to be the savior for these people. No. Prior to issuing this ill-conceived public statement with assistance from Chief Rafferty, DA 𝗵𝗧 accepted input on the content of his statement from a person advocating for Miss McCabe's and the Alberts' interests. Mr. Traub informed the advocate that he sent DA 𝗵𝗧's statement to Dateline NBC and numerous other media entities. By issuing a statement on behalf of witnesses with interests differed from his own, DA 𝗵𝗧 allowed himself to be exploited as a puppet whose strings were controlled by influential private citizens motivated to advance their self-serving agenda, which included silencing Turtleboy. It needs to stop. It needs to stop, Turtleboy. But do I stop on August 25th? Fuck no, I don't stop. Fuck no, I don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. But again, I don't get arrested till October 11th. So what happens? Let's find out. DA 𝗵𝗧's statement was a flagrant violation. We know that already. Although he didn't name Mr. Kearney in his public statement, he took subtle shots at him by attempting to discredit the reliability of the information from the internet. I'm the internet. The internet doesn't have all the facts. 𝗵𝗧 vigorously vouched for the credibility of the McAlberts, decried their victimization from Mr. Kearney's witness intimidation, as he called it, ludicrously decreed that Colin Albert did not commit murder, blatantly misled the public about Proctor's credibility, discussed the evidence against Miss Reed, and implied that she was guilty. The latest effort by 𝗵𝗺cy to stem the snowballing criticism failed miserably. So they're trying everything here to stop it, and it's just not working. They've tried the AG. That didn't work. They tried going into court and getting an order. That didn't work, right? They have done this whole hostage video, told people to stop. That didn't work. So they're running out of ideas here. And then Proctor comes in. On September 3rd, in a group text, which included 𝗵𝗺cy, 𝗬𝗨, 𝗵𝗏𝗀𝗁, and others, there's little, again, we got screenshots of text messages that have the little bubbles on top. So we can see their initials. That's it. We don't get the Celebrate report, but we saw what Michael Proctor said on this date. And Bredel said what he said in court. If you go back and watch the last hearing on this, Bredel says what Proctor says in this message on September 3rd. He refers to Mr. Kearney, Proctor, as blank. He said the quiet part out loud, asking blank. What did he ask in that message? I don't know, but it might have been said in open court already. I don't know. Let's see. Footnote 9. The court is no doubt aware of Mr. Proctor's habit of crudely referring to people adverse to his position. At a minimum, the disgraced former trooper has separately made inappropriate remarks about Miss Reed, two of her attorneys, a medical examiner, and Mr. Kearney. So, I mean, think about that. Why don't we just arrest him? I mean, think of the way that's phrased. Why don't we just arrest them? Well, Mr. Proctor, not Trooper Proctor, Mr. Proctor, Chip, if you will. Well, Chip, you probably haven't arrested me by September 3rd because it's not illegal. And the Attorney General's office doesn't seem to think it's illegal. But Chippy's mad. Chippy's mad now. He's upset. I'm making comments about teaching his kids to throw a spiral football, and it's making him mad. I mean, Proctor acts on emotion. He doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care about the Constitution. He doesn't care about the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights. He doesn't care about any of that shit. He just cares about, like, bro, we're the cops. Like, we have the guns and the badges. Why aren't we just arresting them? Just fucking mix them up. But they don't have a plan yet. They don't know what to arrest me for. They want to arrest me. They want to put me in handcuffs. They want to shut me up. They just haven't figured out what the crime I've committed is. Okay. Allegedly, and again, I did the rolling rally a month and a half before this. I broadcast it to the world. I shared it. I wasn't charged. They didn't think anything. They couldn't figure out what was illegal about that. They were like, surely they knew the law. They're like, well, there's got to be something that's illegal about it. And they're like, anyone got any ideas about what's illegal? No, we don't. And then Proctor's September 3rd, he's like, can't we just arrest them? Just fuck it. Make some shit up. Can't we gotta do something? What the fuck? Yeah, he says I spit on his driveway. The poll camera shows that was a lie too. There we go, Scott. Scott's onto something here. They got nothing. Again, they had nothing to work with here. They had nothing to arrest me for. And in came something called Crusty Panties that changes everything. And we're going to see she is the driving force behind the charges. She's the X factor here. As it turns out, Mr. Proctor's blank was prescient. What's prescient mean? Let's Google that. Prescient means having or showing knowledge of events before they took place. Ooh, so something's going to happen. In the aftermath of their futile public statements, and after being repeatedly rebuffed by the DOJ and AG, the Commonwealth played its only remaining hand, shut Mr. Kearney up by prosecuting himself. The Commonwealth unveiled an Orwellian plan in which they, the very people being criticized by Mr. Kearney, weaponized the witness intimidation statute for the purposes of silencing his criticism of them. Within months, the out-of-control Commonwealth's abuse of the witness intimidation statute led it to investigate others with the temerity to publicly criticize the case against Miss Reed. The state police, Canton Police Department, summoned the Canton Nine. In what became a national embarrassment, they sought witness intimidation charges against people who placed tiny rubber ducks on public streets in Canton. They investigated people for the content of Facebook messages which were critical of the McAlberts. This colossal waste of public resources didn't result in a single conviction. Not a conviction, a charge. Most of these people were never charged. They couldn't make it past the clerk magistrate's hearing. On September 15th, in connection with Miss Reed's court appearance, Mr. Kearney and a large number of her supporters loudly protested outside of the Dedham courthouse in support of her innocence. Jennifer McCabe did not show up for that court hearing, nor did she show up for the July 25th one. She showed up to everyone before that, though. On September 28th, Miss McCabe again informed Mr. Steve Nelson, blank. What does she? So she's mad. This is 3 days after another hearing that she doesn't attend. And she's mad about that. So she sends Steve Nelson a text and says something. Miss McCabe wanted to meet with the DA. So now we're getting closer to my charges. And Jen McCabe's all up in their business. So she wants to meet with the DA and do what? I don't know. In fact, what occurred, blank, the September 2015 court appearance was official business, blank, Miss Reed's case in the courtroom, and blank, the appearance. Protesters exercised their First Amendment rights to criticize Miss McCabe for her alleged involvement in a cover-up of Mr. O'Keefe's death. So that's what we were really doing there. So she's saying that, whatever it is, it's legitimate. On September 20th, getting what? We're 3 weeks away from my arrest now. Miss McCabe again told Mr. Nelson something. Mr. Nelson assured Miss McCabe something. What could he assure her of by September 20th? Well, on September 26th, don't you love the timeline here? I love the timeline of putting this all together. That's what I told Bederow. When it's all put together like this, it's like, wow. When you actually see the timeline of how this shit worked, you're like, wow, I see. On September 26th, DA 𝗵𝗺cy recused his office and engaged Mr. Mello. That's when they pay him the big bucks. A special prosecutor to handle the best that they could find to prosecute me was a man who's literally dying and has a website in which he spells office with 3 F's, who has never conducted a grand jury, never prosecuted a case. This is the best they could find. And he's going to get kicked off our case completely. And if Cosgrove bows out, now that he's being sued by one of the witnesses, who the hell are they going to get to prosecute me? Who would ever sign up for this? Yeah, I want to take over. What happened to the last guy? Oh, he got sued by one of the witnesses. So if you take this case, you're probably going to become a defendant too. And you have to work at the behest of something called Crusty Panties and Fake Victim and Jenny McCabe. They're kind of like your bosses. So if you want the job, starts tomorrow. Anyway. And then you become like an enemy of like everybody hates you because you get featured in Ratchet Madness. It's just, you want the job? Go for it. Although the DA's recusal indicated 𝗵𝗺cy's appreciation for the clear conflict that would arise from his office's prosecution of a journalist who criticized the DA, which faced the exact same conflict, did not recuse itself from the Kearney investigation. I mean, how fucked up is that? 𝗵𝗺cy recuses himself, but the cops that I'm accusing of covering up for murder are actively involved in the investigation. The victims themselves, Proctor and Buchanan, are victims of mine, according to the state. And they're also detectives of mine. Like, they're investigating me, but they're also victims. What kind of pussiness is this? Like grown men with guns and badges. What fucking pussies. Tully, a frequent target of Kearney's criticism, remained the lead investigator, and he arrested me. Proctor, who recently referred to Kearney as blank in blank, and 𝗵𝗂𝗁, also regular targets of Mr. Kearney, continued to participate in the investigation and later became victims. Proctor and 𝗵𝗂𝗁 testified that they were intimidated by Kearney. Both indictments were dismissed. In particular, the dismissed indictment related to 𝗵𝗂𝗁 illustrates the Commonwealth's lack of good faith in prosecuting Mr. Kearney. That charge involved a September 15th video recorded incident in which Kearney questioned and then criticized 𝗵𝗂𝗁 as he left court and walked to his car. It is obvious he was not intimidated. He calmly entered his own vehicle, rolled the window down, and extended his middle finger as he slowly drove away. Nevertheless, he testified that Mr. Kearney's conduct absolutely intimidated him. Oh, my God. He didn't even prepare a report, but he said at the grand jury that it absolutely intimidated him. And I got indicted for that. I mean, what a pussy. Without more, the state police's failure to recuse itself in the face of such blatant conflict of interest and actual bias calls into question the motivation of the Commonwealth and entirely discredits the case against Mr. Kearney. On September 28th, Chris Albert unsuccessfully petitioned for a harassment prevention order against Mr. Kearney. He was denied an order, concluding that his allegations did not constitute true threats or harassment under the law. And it's interesting because this affidavit is basically the charging documents against me. Like everything he writes in his affidavit to try to get this order on me ends up being the exact same quotes that are used in the charging documents against me, almost like they had this planned. Notwithstanding his supposed recusal from the Kearney investigation on September 29th, DA 𝗵𝗺ci contacted several high-ranking judicial figures, including the judge who denied Mr. Albert a protective order, demanding that a Stoughton clerk be investigated in connection with Mr. Kearney's awareness of Mr. Albert's application for a protective order, which 𝗵𝗺ci claimed he had no right to know about. We've been over that in the Bederow letters, right? That, bro, are you kidding me? It proved that they lied about going through my phone, right? All right, let me read a couple turtle chat break real quick. We'll do a turtle chat break. We'll get right back to that. We've got a good crowd tonight. Nice to see all you fine people out there. Do me a favor, guys. We got 8,196 people watching right now. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button for me, will you? Oh, we got 25 new subs today. Good. We actually went up today. So we're up to 163,362. So go ahead. I guarantee at least 700 you haven't hit this. It's free. It don't cost nothing. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. Hook it up. Oh, we just got 4 more. Let's fucking go. Let's go, baby. Oh, okay, cool. All right. Anyway, let's read some turtle chat, shall we? Okay. Oh man, some saucy. I can already read some saucy. That's just all right. Megan sends $5 and goes, I'm praying for you that this mega motion turns into a mega dismissal. That would be really cool. That would be really cool if this is how it ended. I appreciate that. All American sends $5 and goes, Charlie Kirk vigil on the Boston Common tomorrow at 7 p.m. You know, I hope that's peaceful. I hate to say it, but I hope that nobody disrupts it, which someone's going to because people are assholes. So, but hopefully not. Krusty's missing shampoo sends $10 and goes, how did you find out that the titles were changed at the grand jury? Did they withhold the grand jury recordings at all times? It sounds like an Olivia find. She is brilliant. I got to give credit where credit's due. That's a Meredith find, actually. She has not seen. I've read them and told people about it, and she's like, that's not the name of the title. And I'm like, Well, so they lied to the grand jury. Okay. So like, we didn't even know that. Like, I'd seen the grand jury docs, but I never thought to look at the titles. I'm like, wait a minute. The titles are actually very important. But Olivia, you like that fucking little chart there? That's all Olivia. Olivia put that whole little thing together. And that, like, we hadn't even, like, that was not included in the first motion to dismiss. It just went over our heads. Missed it. But a lot of this stuff, as you saw, was withheld from us. Like the communications between Mello and Kate Peter. We didn't have that. So there's that. All right, next. Pat sends $6 and goes, there is a vigil for Charlie Kirk on the Boston Common tomorrow at 7. Thanks, Pat. The West Virginia country guy sends $10 and goes, it's just not a title, it's your speech. Isn't this falsifying statements by an accused to the grand jury? And isn't that a crime? Well, it should be. I don't know if it's not already, but thanks. Sarah sends $69. What's an interesting number? 69. And she says, this is the real Sarah. And I got a winking emoji and says, anyway, your yellow shirt is making me want a banana real bad. Sorry, not sorry. Hashtag free Turtleboy. Well, that's a little racy. Okay. It's 69. Okay. I think I get the jib of your sale there. You like bananas. I think bananas are gross. Gross. It's the only thing I wouldn't eat in jail. Bananas and oatmeal. I tried all new foods in jail because you don't get a choice. It's either eat this or starve. And when they brought me bananas, I'm like, I will just eat fucking my commissary for breakfast. I'll eat goddamn Cheetos or whatever I have here, you know? So yeah. Maybe that's her favorite. Maybe that's her favorite number. Okay. Maybe that might be your favorite number. She might like bananas. She likes potassium. There you go. Give her a break. You guys have dirty minds. Okay. Next. There's nothing. Bananas are gross. I hate the texture. It's not a real fruit. Fruit is supposed to be sweet or sour. One of the two. It has to be. Or a combination. Plums, pears, apples, oranges. They're all sweet and or sour. What the fuck is a banana? It's just gross. It's just fucking gross. It shouldn't count as a fruit. It's a disgrace. They should be banned. Potassium. Oh, I don't potassium. Oh no, I don't potassium, whatever that means. All right. Anyway, back to this. Asserin Fish sends $20 and goes, I'm reading this motion now and just got to the part about Krusty feeding you false information about Colin Albert dealing drugs at a D&D pizza. I remember hearing rumors about that somewhere at some point, but it not being reported. Is that where it came from? Yes. I think maybe people asked about that in the Turtle Chat at some point, and I think you dismissed it. How and when did you find out about Mia Rose was Krusty? This is new to me. I did a thing on it a couple weeks ago, Asserin Fish. I did a whole thing there, so go back and check that out. But yeah, Sean in the Gulf ran with that lie, and it all came from Krusty, and they've blamed us for it, but it all came from her. All right, Laura sends $5 and goes, can they do a depo of Mello in case he becomes incapacitated or dies? I don't know. Good question. Asserin Fish sends $10 and goes, in regard to my last Turtle Chat, I suppose maybe I should have finished reading the motion before I ask questions about the motion. I'm charging myself a $10 penalty for the Turtleboy Defense Fund. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Laura sends $5 and goes, wicked awesome to hear you and Howie laughing about those idiots, Gutless, Proctor, and Deaver. Even better to hear you discussing Mega Motion in your upcoming hearing. I'm happy to never hear the redacted information and have your case dismissed. Much love. I think you're going to hear it either way. But yeah, I saw somebody tweet, how many times have you heard the haters say he'll never go back on Howie again? Howie will never have him back after this. And, all these people, they'll never have him back after this. Well, I'm back. I mean, me and Howie are meant to be together. You know what I mean? Like, it's no hard feelings. And we talked, we hashed it all out. I never had my beef was never really with Howie. Like, Howie actually tried to do me a solid when he did the Reed interview, and he asked her specifically, he's like, is there anyone you want to thank? And she rightfully said Howie Carr and only Howie Carr, because without Howie, none of this is possible. And, I don't, some of you guys were like, oh man, why didn't Turtleboy get a thank you? Oh no, you guys have it all wrong. You have it all wrong. I don't deserve a thank you. That is my official policy, is that I do not deserve any sorts of thanks. And in fact, quite the opposite. The more I think about it, I owe 𝗫𝗏 a thank you for making all of this possible by being framed for murder and allowing me to write about her story and raise $1.1 million for the legal defense fund. So without her, none of this is possible. So thank you. Next. Wisconsin farm girl sends $25 and goes, hey, daddy, if they dismiss your charges, will everything automatically become impounded or will they stay hidden? That's a great question because we really want to see what's in these messages, don't we? I know it's almost, I'm sure it's going to get out there. Ain't nothing stays secret forever, period. Nothing. Okay. Oh man, I'm going to refresh the, how many, let's see. Well, we just got 11 more subs. Nice to see. Let me check my Cash Apps here. All right. Ralph sends $25 and goes, cards for the DA's office. Yeah, they're going to need them after this. Katie sends $20 and goes, Bradle and Bederow bucks. I mean, that's what this is. You're seeing where your money's going to with this mega motion for sure. Melinda sends $5 and goes, happy birthday, Janine, Tiampkin, love Tessie and Lola. Okay. Love it. Happy birthday. Cool. Anyway, back to the mega motion. Let's pull this up. All right. DA 𝗫𝗏 was awarded the investigation that he sought. On October 31st, 2023, 3 weeks after Kearney's phones were seized, a Stoughton court official presented the target of the investigation, Michelle, with pages from an extraction report from one of Kearney's phones. That's how we realized that they had been through my phones. They went through my phones, read all my messages, and used them to fire someone. Despite irrefutable proof that at least one of Kearney's phones had been extracted by 𝗫𝗏, Mr. Mello falsely represented to the court on November 28th that the state police had not perused the materials. It is in pristine form located on the defendant's devices. Liar. On November 10th, recused DA 𝗫𝗏 emailed AG Andrea Campbell. He acknowledged that the AG refused to prosecute Mr. Kearney, but he again urged the AG to take some action against him. Now that timing is interesting. November 10th. That was the day after Judge Krupp released his, whatchamacallit. The day after Judge Krupp released his finding that was just devastating to me. It was a really bad finding in which he imposed stay away orders and, basically said, I'm a bad guy and none of this is First Amendment protected. And suddenly the next day, 𝗫𝗏 felt compelled to reach out to Andrea Campbell once again, trying to get her perhaps to do something. Once again, the AG declined to prosecute or take any actions. Now, the crusty portion of the evening. Miss Peter worked for Kearney from September 2018 to February 2020, when Mr. Kearney terminated her employment after he caught her stealing from him. Since Mr. Kearney terminated her, Miss Peters' unhealthy fixation on needling Mr. Kearney seemingly has dominated her life. It recently resulted in her being permanently stained with a criminal record. Ouch. Miss Peters' behavior has resulted in additional prosecutions and the issuance of numerous orders against her in favor of Mr. Kearney and others associated with him, like Lauren Murray. Miss Peters' disdain for Mr. Kearney has led her to engage in fraud, forgery, the manufacturing of evidence, and other acts. of dishonesty for the purpose of harming Mr. Kearney. In March of 2020, shortly after Kearney fired her for theft, she engaged in a harebrained scheme where she forged documents and fraudulently filed them to advance her position and harm Mr. Kearney in connection with a petty YouTube copyright. We know all this already. Miss Peter brazenly sent YouTube what she falsely represented was a federal copyright civil complaint dated March 24th that she filed in the District of Massachusetts in a case captioned Catherine Peter versus Aidan Kearney. Right. So she made up a fake case and tried charging me with it. Like, bro, in fact, the ostensible complaint Miss Peter filed was a forgery, and there was no federal lawsuit involving Mr. Kearney and Miss Peter. This is what she's capable of. Unaware of Miss Peter's dishonest nature and penchant for scheming against Mr. Kearney, YouTube relied upon her fraudulent documents and false representations to her benefit and Mr. Kearney's detriment, and initially ruled in her favor. Miss Peter committed fraud by going online and accessing a legitimate civil complaint filed in 2013 federal copyright suit for the District of Massachusetts. She altered the caption and other information to make it appear as if her fraudulent documents were authentic, represented it as her legitimate complaint, and filed it with YouTube. Her criminal scheme was exposed by her ignorance of federal court practice. She failed to change the index number when she doctored the legitimate complaint, which meant that her ostensible 2020 complaint contained a 2013 index number. On November of 2022, in an online interview, Miss Peter admitted that she submitted the forged complaint with the intent to defraud YouTube because she hated Mr. Kearney. She says that in the interview with 𝗵, who is an attorney in Sacramento. You've seen that thing that she does. Despite engaging in a dishonest scheme, Miss Peter reasoned that she was trustworthy because she admitted it. Well, I admitted it. Miss Peters remains subject to prosecution until March 24th, 2026. We'll see if that happens. Miss Peters' self-serving defense of her trustworthiness didn't last long. Remember, she's like, well, I admitted it. I'm trustworthy now. Within months, she again succumbed to an impulsive urge to harm Mr. Kearney and sent him an anonymous email filled with defamatory and false information about Colin and Chris Albert, hoping that Kearney would publicly harass the Alberts with the false information that she fed him. Miss Peter was acutely aware that if Mr. Kearney publicly accused Colin and Chris Albert of criminal activity, it would likely lead these Reed case witnesses to claim that Mr. Kearney was witness intimidated by them, causing them emotional harm. So she literally sends me an email pretending to be somebody who bought drugs off of Colin Albert in order to have me report that Colin Albert's a drug dealer. Why? So I could upset Colin and Chris Albert. And then I would be charged with witness intimidation. She is the source of this. She is the source of this lie. In March 2025, Chris Albert and Colin Albert's complaints did result in further witness intimidation charges against Mr. Kearney. According to the Alberts, they suffered emotional harm after they viewed D&E camera footage of Mr. Kearney, who had been socializing with friends next door at C.F. McCarthy's, clowning around while looking at D&E's security camera. Mr. Kearney's comments were unlawfully intercepted by a second camera. The Alberts claimed that they were intimidated even though they weren't inside and viewed the footage on their phones from a different location. Oh my God, what pussies. Whew. On March 28th, 2023, on May 28th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m., concealing her identity, Miss Peters emailed Mr. Kearney that Colin Albert was a drug dealer and that he was responsible for killing Mr. O'Keefe. Right. Mr. Peter, or we'll stick with Mr. Miss Peter lied to Mr. Kearney that Chris Albert knew his son moved drugs through D&E Pizza and that the whole Albert family made money from Colin's drug operation, which probably explained why Brian Albert covered up Mr. O'Keefe's death. Miss Peters' deranged scheme included presenting Mr. Kearney with fabricated screenshots that she created, which purported to show Mia and Colin Albert discussing drug deals. During the live stream, she admitted lying to Mr. Kearney about Colin and Chris Albert, and she explained how she falsified these screenshots from the internet. Miss Peter falsely told Mr. Kearney that Colin Albert talked about harming John because he believed Mr. O'Keefe was investigating his drug dealing. Just as Miss Peter intended, during his May 28th live show, Mr. Kearney told his audience that he received an anonymous email alleging that directly to that timestamp. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, for whatever reason, the links don't work when I click it on here. I don't know why. But if you click it, it should work. This should go directly to that timestamp when she says that. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Yeah. You know, we're a hip defense team, aren't we here? We're with the times. All right. Mr. Kearney read the email that Miss Peter sent him and indicated that he would investigate this information. He cautioned his audience that this was new, unvetted information, and he didn't vouch for its accuracy or state that it was true. Importantly, after investigating, Mr. Kearney later stated that this information was not credible. So she tries to prove that he'll report anything. And so I read the email live and I go, I don't know if this is true. I don't see any evidence to back this up. I later investigate it and I report that it's complete bullshit. And she's like, haha, got him. Did you? Did you really? I don't think you did, but okay. On May 29th, during her own live stream, Miss Peter gloated about her disgraceful conduct, which she oddly thought harmed Mr. Kearney and made her look good. Amused by her, quote, little fib, she proudly admitted that she made the false and defamatory information that she provided Mr. Kearney about the Alberts was a 100% fabrication out of my mind. Miss Peter conceded that her conduct was damaging to Colin and Chris Albert, but rationalized it because I just sent this. I sent this just to fuck with Aidan. Oh, okay. Miss Peter threatened Mr. Kearney, warning him that she should fear her. She issued a call to arms and urged her trolls to send Mr. Kearney more false information, which she would then share with his alleged victims. She bragged, I know that bad things are happening to you right now, Aidan, and you're probably thinking that it might be me. But it's me. Just so you know, every single annoyance, every single horrible thing that's happening to you right now, I've done it. Call the police, you bitch. I mean, obsessed? Just obsessed. In other words, I mean, you never hear this. People are like, oh, you have a rivalry with this person. Do you ever hear me being up here and talking to her saying oh, you better watch out, bitch. Every bad thing that happens to you, it's coming for me. No, you don't hear that. All you hear from me is just being like, yo, this bitch is crazy. And she has crusted panties and she's nasty. And she lost her kids to DCF. That's all you hear from me is me just shitting on her occasionally because she's a piece of shit ratchet. There's no obsession on my end. It's just standard mocking shitty people. She's just another one of the shitty people. The obsession is a one-way street. If she stopped mentioning me, I would stop ever mentioning her, ever. I have nothing to say to this person. In other words, just as she did in her 2020 YouTube spat, Miss Peter demonstrated with ease that she lies if it helps her, quote, fuck with Aidan. And in this instance, intentionally cause emotional harm to prosecution witnesses. I mean, the irony of this all, that she caused the emotional harm. Miss Peter's defamatory stunt did cause emotional harm to Colin and Chris Albert. On August 1st, Chris Albert cited blank. So Chris Albert says something on August 1st that indicates that he's having emotional harm from these drug dealing allegations when he wrote to the DA blank. So I mean, it's almost, this would imply that there's some sort of message in which Chris Albert messages the DA and complains about the emotional harm that he's feeling because of these false accusations of drug dealing that came from Kate Peter. Might want to charge her with intimidation there, Morrissey. Just as she intended, Mr. Albert assuredly blamed Mr. Kearney for the bogus drug dealing allegations, entirely ignorant to the fact that it was his supporter and advocate who saw him and his son as expendable collateral damage for her false flag operation to harm Mr. Kearney. Within weeks of her cruel and defamatory attempt to amuse herself at the expense of the Alberts and her call to arms, unleashing her trolls on Mr. Kearney, Tully and Mello willingly relied on her as a primary source for gathering evidence to use during the grand jury proceeding against Mr. Kearney. So why are we mentioning all this? Because she's the source. They trust her. That's why. They trust that everything she gives them is honest and authentic, and they don't need to check it out or authenticate it themselves. Trust the crust. Now you know why Tully's lying. Now you're asking yourself earlier, why is Tully lying? Tully's the smartest one of all of them. Why is Tully lying about who changed the titles? Why is he falling on the sword for Krusty? Because it's too embarrassing. He cannot admit that this came from Krusty because he knows that the whole case falls apart if this all came from the crust, right? You can't trust the crust. Tully knows that. And he's like being like, okay, fine, I did it. Because it's a better alternative than trust the crust. On information and belief for years, she has spent several hours a week online monitoring and cataloging Mr. Kearney's content to use against him. She had no public interest or stake in the Reed case, no association with any of the witnesses until Mr. Kearney began supporting Miss Reed's innocence. Naturally, once Mr. Kearney started to support Miss Reed, Mr. Peter became a self-styled advocate for Miss McCabe, the Alberts and the O'Keeffes, and sought to foster relationships of convenience with others who hated him, including Lindsay Gattani, who shortly after meeting Miss Peter became the alleged victim in the 2024 indictments. In July of 2023, she created a Facebook group called Support for the McCabe's, Alberts, and O'Keeffes. This is how she befriended them. She made a support group for them. At one point, she volunteered to help members of the group find attorneys to deal with Aidan. And we have an email that she sent a Boston attorney named Benjamin Wish, who she attempted to get him to take my case on and sue me on their behalf, pro bono. She tried to get him to do this for free and she tells him that he's alt-right, that he's like an alt-righter. He was on Timcast, she says. He was on Tim Pool, who's alt-right. And so you should go after him. And he's represented by the same attorney as Alex Jones, Mark Randazza. So you should go after him. So she goes after, and Benjamin Wish does not take her up on the offer. Does not. Nothing encapsulates. Oh, this is the best footnote. Nothing encapsulates Turtleboy derangement syndrome, which is now officially part of the public court record. An affliction which causes people who turn on Mr. Kearney, including Miss Gattani, to engage in irrational behavior more than several people who protested in support of Miss Reed's innocence and then flippantly switched sides and protested for her conviction solely because of their hatred for Mr. Kearney. After she accused Mr. Kearney of intimidating her, Miss Gattani became such a rabid advocate for Miss Reed's guilt that on July 1st, clad in the same Justice for John O'Keefe shirt as Miss Peter, she appeared with Miss Peter on a live interview with Court TV. And if you click on Turtleboy derangement syndrome, it brings you to this picture, which is an actual now court exhibit. This is a court exhibit now. Okay, this is the visual representation of what has now been legally called Turtleboy derangement syndrome. Okay, September 4th, June 28th. Free Karen Reed. Karen Reed is guilty. This is Crazy Julie Ginto. September 15th, June 28th. Twisted Tragedies. September 15th, June 28th. Oh, you just can't. You can't, guys. It's just too funny that this is real shit. Anyway, back to this. I can't wait till fucking Doolin sees that. All right. On September 13th at 3:34 p.m., Miss Peter publicly bragged that she had archived a purportedly illegal recording made by the retard, Mr. Kearney, of his conversation with Steve Scanlon, a private investigator who was tangentially blah, blah, blah. Miss Peter claimed that she forwarded the recording to state police. On information and belief, on September 3rd at 4:23 p.m., an hour later, she created a version of the recording and sent it to 𝗃𝗏 in a private link because we have their emails. On November 28th, a transcript of the grand jury proceedings, 𝗃𝗏 testified he had been sent the video of Scanlon, of a Scanlon recording. He testified that the person who it was sent to, she stated it was a private link, 𝗏𝗏, so it was not available for public distribution. An audio copy of the recording that Miss Peter sent to state police on or about September 13th, the substance of which was played as a video before the grand jury, wasn't provided to the defense until last month. So we finally got this audio of the Steve Scanlon call, my interview with him, that was never publicly shared, but yet 𝗏𝗏 got it. And 𝗏𝗏 sends it to 𝗃𝗏, and 𝗃𝗏 uses it to try to indict me. The version of the recording provided to the defense doesn't include the beginning of the recorded call, skips and repeats. It is clearly edited. Bro, when we heard this recording that was played before the grand jury, like the beginning of it skips. It plays a part. I'm like, wait a minute. I know I didn't say that twice. Go back and play that again. It skips. It's edited. And it starts at the 1:09 mark. There's a minute and 9 seconds missing, in which I easily could have said to Scanlon, I'm recording this. But it's gone. It's just fucking gone. And again, who sent it to 𝗃𝗏? The crust. The crust. He trusts the crust. And there's a minute 9 seconds that are just missing from it. Okay. The defense hasn't been provided with a copy of the email or any communication in which she provides the Scanlon recording. On September 27th, Miss Peter emailed 𝗵𝗏𝗆. So this is the day after they hire Mello. All right. 2 weeks before I'm arrested, and says something. The email that Miss Peter sent 𝗵𝗏𝗆 included blank, which haven't been provided to the defense. One day after Mello was engaged by DA Morrissey, 𝗵𝗏𝗆 confirmed to Peter. So 𝗵𝗏𝗆 responds to Kate Peter and says blank. Either ignorant or dismissive of Miss Peter's own criminal conduct and woeful credibility, Sergeant 𝗵𝗏𝗆 praised and thanked 𝗏𝗏𝗆 panties. So, oh no, she's not influential at all. Then why the fuck you don't get to see the high praise he gives her? It's redacted. We are not allowed to read emails from government agents to other government agents who were involved in my prosecution. I've seen this. You can't see it though. You don't get to see it. But I've seen it. But you do know that he praises and thanks her. I mean, can you imagine that? The state police are praising and thanking a criminal, a woman who has been convicted of threats, charged with multiple counts of witness intimidation and violating restraining orders and all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, who has admitted to, like, they trust her. They praise her. They thank her. Bro. On September 29th at 9:38, Miss Peter, now on a first name basis with 𝗵𝗏𝗆, emailed who she calls Yuri and says blank. She provides 𝗵𝗏𝗆 with blank. She told 𝗃𝗏𝗃 that she was blank. Oh, we got a footnote 16. Based upon the information provided to them by blank, Tully and Mr. Mello's investigator went to Gardenia, California to interview Natalie Bernschneider in person on October 17th. So based upon the information provided to them by blank, someone who could fit in that, and up here we're talking about Miss Peter. So Miss Peter sends something to 𝗃𝗏𝗃 on September 29th. And then 3 weeks later, Tully's on a plane to meet Natalie. What happened there? It's almost as if September 29th. I wonder what she must have been talking about Natalie, right? Because why else would they fucking get on a plane and go see Natalie? I wonder what's going on with that. On September 29th at 3 p.m., Miss Peter tweeted, October 10th, he knows the deal, in response to another's post asking her when Mr. Kearney would be subpoenaed. So she knew on September 29th that something was going to go down on October 10th. On information and belief, Miss Peter's reference to he knows the deal indicates that the state police told her, remember, she's talking to 𝗃𝗏𝗃 a lot, several weeks before Mr. Kearney's arrest, that they intended to arrest him on October 10th. So she's emailing with 𝗃𝗏𝗃 at 9:38 a.m. on September 29th, calling him Uri. And then at 3 p.m., she tweets out, October 10th, he knows the deal. So after talking to 𝗃𝗏𝗃, she knows almost the exact date that I'm going to be arrested on. Whew, that's interesting. Because she just can't keep her fucking mouth shut. All right. On information and belief, Miss Peter's reference to he knows the deal indicates that they told her weeks before Mr. Kearney's arrest that they intended to arrest him on October 10th, 2023. That was the day they intended to, but something goes wrong. On September 29th at 4 p.m., 𝗃𝗏𝗃 forwarded his email correspondence with Miss Peter to blank. On October 3rd, Tully emailed Fanning, 𝗃𝗏𝗃, and Proctor that he had blank. 𝗃𝗏𝗃 replied that he had already provided blank and blank to blank. Lieutenant Fanning replied that all his blank. This is fun Mad Lib stuff here. On information and belief, the blank and blank being discussed by Tully, 𝗃𝗏𝗃, and Fanning on October 23rd related to the blank that Miss Peter provided DL Tully in a private link on or about September 3rd. Oh, September 13th. That's the Scanlon tape, isn't it? And which was later used against Mr. Kearney in the grand jury. Almost 2 years later, and despite numerous specific demands related to Miss Peter's relationship with the Commonwealth, the defense hasn't been provided with any notes, reports, or videos related to Miss Peter or the private link that she sent Tully on September 13th. So as soon as she gets involved in this, it cranks up. For months prior to November 28th, commencement of the grand jury proceedings, Tully, 𝗃𝗏𝗃, and Proctor were aware of her unstable obsession with Mr. Kearney. As experienced detectives who have been investigating Kearney since mid-2023, the state police should have known of numerous red flags which adversely impacted Miss Peter's credibility, including her eager insertion of herself into the investigation, her personal animus towards Mr. Kearney, which gave her a clear motive to falsely accuse him of a crime, her insertion into Miss McCabe's orbit, and most importantly, her prior history of falsifying evidence against Mr. Kearney. Indeed, given their constant review of social media as a means of acquiring evidence against Mr. Kearney, the state police and DA must have been familiar with the March 30th, 2020 article detailing her YouTube fraud and her May 29th live stream where she admitted falsifying evidence against Colin and Chris Albert about drug dealing. On October 11th, Mr. Kearney was arrested one day after Miss Peter publicly announced weeks earlier. State police audio transmissions from immediately before Mr. Kearney's arrest. If you guys haven't heard this tape, it's hyperlinked in here, so you can go listen to it. Audio transmissions before his arrest reveal that the arrest team, a fugitive unit that included 𝗃𝗏, quote, heard from KP. Remember we heard that on the tape? We just heard from KP. They said that it was the same thing yesterday. Two older kids getting on around the same time, but it was 8:30. So there's a bus. My kid's bus stop is an elementary school bus stop. But at 7:50, 40 minutes earlier, it's a middle school bus stop because middle school starts earlier. Mount View Middle. And so they're on the radios and they're like, are those the kids? Are those Turtleboy's kids? They're spying on other people's children, which is really creepy. They don't alert the Holden police of this. They're doing this whole sting operation. They're spying on other people's kids. And they're like, I just heard from KP. Those are middle school kids, wrong kids at the bus stop. That means that the day before, whoever KP is, October 10th, is monitoring my bus stop and giving intel to the state police about what time my kids get on the bus and what time other kids get on their bus. That is an obsession, ladies and gentlemen. That is a fucking obsession right there. Watching me at my kids, like, why? And everyone's like, she's getting paid. No. Don't even fuck getting paid. She's doing this for the love of the game. There's obsession. Saying she's paid for this takes away the obsession factor. I'm almost insulted by it, right? She's doing this because she's obsessed with me. On information and belief, KP referred to Miss Peter, and she helped the state police coordinate the arrest beforehand. Miss Peter attended the October 11th arraignment, and she testified that she went there to meet Mr. Mello and that she was a potential witness against Mr. Kearney. Her words. Miss Peter has a history of surveilling people to create chaos for them. She and Miss Gattani discussed spying on Miss Reed and members of her legal team at the Omni Seaboard Hotel in Boston. Remember those emails where they're like, let's spy on... They went to the Omni Hotel to spy on Karen Reed and Alan Jackson. She also has shared surreptitious photos of Mr. Kearney and others socializing at the Hillside Pub in Canton on March 4th, 2025. She also posted those. So she spies on us a lot. So shortly after Mr. Kearney's arrest, Miss Peter, with the blessing of Mello and 𝗃𝗏, became integral to the prosecution. On October 25th, Miss Peter emailed 𝗃𝗏 that she and her team were blank, doing something. To this day, the DA hasn't informed the defense of who, if anyone, served on Miss Peter's team. Miss Peter sent to 𝗃𝗏 a blank, which she blank wherever she believed there was evidence of a crime. So she believes she gets to decide where crimes are. She advised 𝗃𝗏. So she's giving him advice about what is evidence of a crime. She's telling him how to do his job. It's in the emails. We got all the emails. She literally calls it, Emily, her team. I'm not even joking. She says she has a team that does they download every episode that I am on, including this one, including the sex cult ones. They pay for memberships. They download everything, and they have a huge folder of archives that they just have a team of probably Kim Fair and people like that who just, this is their life. Like, I'm telling you, the people dedicated to taking me down are the most dedicated people on earth. And fuck a couch. They'll do this shit for free. Almost 2 years later, the defense hasn't been provided with the information that she gave him. On November 1st, Miss Peter emailed 𝗬𝗨 with the subject line blank. She informed him blank. So November 1st, she's still working with him. Miss Peter told 𝗬𝗨 that she would blank. Her email provided 𝗬𝗨 with another link to a blank on November 1st. She's sending them links. Almost 2 years later, the defense has not been provided with this video file. So she's sending video files to him. That's what the blank must be. On November 17th, Miss Peter emailed 𝗬𝗨 blank. According to 𝗬𝗨, he relied upon information Miss Peter provided him before he edited Mr. Kearney's YouTube episodes. Remember, he's taking the fall. He's like, no. I edited the titles, not her. On November 26th, 2 days before Mr. Mello commenced the grand jury presentation, Miss Peter emailed him with subject line blank, a blank. So right before the grand jury starts, she's sending Mello more shit. You can't see. She sought Mr. Mello's blank. What can you seek? Writing blank. On November 26th, Mr. Mello's response to Miss Peter proved that he opened private links sent to Miss Peter. So he sends her back a thing saying, showing that he's 𝗬𝗨 might not click on the links, but Mello certainly does. In response to Mello's request, Miss Peter sent him blank. Miss Peter's November 26th communications with Mello conclusively establishes that Mello outsourced investigative work to her. Outsourced it. Discussed strategy. And was aware that she edited Mr. Kearney's content with her own editorial slant and bias. That he reviewed private links that she sent him 2 days before the grand jury started. That's interesting. So he is outsourcing work to her. He knows that she's editing videos. She admits it, and he's actively seeking her help right before the grand jury starts. In which he uses a video of Scanlon that is missing 1 minute and 9 seconds worth and skips. That's interesting. Fanning testified that Miss Peter reported things to the state police that they couldn't find or document. In December, as part of her plan to coax Miss Kearney into bringing witness intimidation charges against Mr. Kearney, Miss Peter told Miss Kearney that she had blank and that she had spoken to him. Wonder who him could be. About blank. So she's this might have been an early Bederow letter before the protective order into her phone, which, by the way, she filed a motion today to hold me in contempt for publishing her phone. Because apparently Jason Broyles or someone else has published the entire cell phone extraction on Twitter. I did not give it to him, but he published it, and she is blaming me for that, even though I had nothing to do with it. And she wants me held in contempt. This is a publicly filed motion that you can read. She wants me held in contempt and is demanding a $20,000 fine. She wants 20 grand. This is just literally a money. She is now extorting them for more money. I mean, just what a group of people this is. Miss Peter joked that when she spoke to Mr. Mello, blank. On December 12th, Miss Kearney texted Mr. Peter that Mr. Kearney blank. On February 26th, Miss Peter left Mr. Kearney a crude, harassing voice message, gloating about her importance in the Commonwealth's case against him. I cannot wait until Doolin reads this. And we actually linked, of course, the voicemail too. Hey, faggot, it's Kate Peter, crusty panties. Every time you get a block number, it's not Lindsay or LG or anyone else. It's me. And I just want to let you know that when you go back to jail, I had absolutely everything to do with it because you are a dumb motherfucker. I'm going to get the best of you. You're a bad person and everyone's going to see it. Have a nice day. By the way, Karen Reed wants nothing to do with you. Go fuck yourself, bitch. I meant it. This is the star witness that 𝗀𝗂𝗄𝗆 thanks and 𝗏𝗏 outsources his investigative work to, and who 𝗃𝗏 relies upon for videos and information. We got it all. We got them all. We got all her communications with all these scumbags. In March of 24, Miss Peter boasted under oath that Mr. Kearney is angry and upset with me because I've been cooperating with the prosecution and giving them information on him. He can blame me for all his problems because I am furnishing information. She can't shut up. So their knowledge of this distorted information. 𝗃𝗏 prepared and signed the charging documents. As the special prosecutor in charge of the prosecution, Mr. 𝗏𝗏 was familiar with the contents of the charging documents. Mr. 𝗏𝗏 billed the taxpayers for only 56 hours of work performed during October 23, even though commencing on October 23 and on each and every day thereafter, including weekends and all legal holidays, I have devoted an absolute minimum of 4 hours each day and frequently 12 or more hours a day, which meant that before, because he's a real workhorse, 𝗏𝗏, that before Mr. 𝗏𝗏 elicited testimony from 𝗃𝗏 in the grand jury proceeding, he worked more than 232 hours on Mr. Kearney's case from October 20. So he should know if he's done this. Our point with this is that if he's worked so many hours, burning the midnight oil, working so hard, then he knows the name of the videos, doesn't he? He knows the name of the episodes. He can't blame this on ignorance because this mofo is working late into the night, isn't he? From October through December, Mr. 𝗏𝗏 spent more than 700 hours of time on this matter. His services included, but were not limited to, reviewing some 8 months of daily internet posts and blogs associated with this matter, coordinating efforts with investigators, drafting court filings, and making presentations to the grand jury. The charging docs and 𝗏𝗏's billing records reveal 𝗃𝗏's and 𝗏𝗏's familiarity with Mr. Kearney's online videos and written articles. So they know it. So the charging documents that are read in court all have the correct titles, all of them, of the episodes. Episode number 598, they say the right name of the episode. But yet when they get to the grand jury, now that Kate Peter has been involved and is sending emails and video clips, and they're outsourcing information to her and thanking her for all her hard work, suddenly the titles have changed. And 𝗃𝗏 is saying that he changed the titles. Okay. 𝗃𝗏 accurately cited names of specific episodes in the charging documents with the exact quotes. For example, he accurately named the titles of episodes 594, 98, 604, etc. But yet, on December 20th, he testifies that episode 598 is titled Life as Normal is Over. And 604 is, I don't want this to go to trial. 𝗃𝗏 repeatedly referenced numerous other unnamed episodes, citing and quoting them in precise detail. 𝗃𝗏 noted that Kearney's episodes are publicly available for viewing without being a subscriber or follower and have been archived by investigators. Thus, it's indisputable that 𝗏𝗏 elicited testimony from 𝗃𝗏 during the grand jury proceeding that both men knew the actual titles, length, and content of Mr. Kearney's episodes. So they knew. The public availability of Kearney's content and 𝗃𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏's familiarity with it means there was no reason for the Commonwealth to consult with or seek Miss Peters' input. Right? Because they know it. Like, if they don't need her help, why are they even talking to her? There is no need for her to clip, edit, and rename Kearney's episodes and conceal the actual episodes and their accurate information from the grand jury's consideration. Footnote. Miss Peters' communications with the Commonwealth provided additional proof that 𝗃𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏 worked hand in hand with her in gathering and editing evidence for use in grand jury proceedings. On January 3rd, when I'm in jail, Miss Peter emailed Mr. 𝗏𝗏 and 𝗃𝗏 a blank. Mr. Mello forwarded Miss Peters' email and the link that she sent to Tully and said, blank. Oh, bro, I wish you guys could read that one. That's a good one. But I can't. You're going to have to mad lib that one. But it's a good one. Remember that one. Page 53. So, again, Mr. Mello worked hand in hand with her in gathering and editing evidence and intended to deceive the grand jury. That's the big one. That's the Odell motion. By intentionally presenting a false and misleading description of the videos. The grand jury proceeding commenced on November 28th. Tully was the main witness. He testified 11 times over 5 days. On December 20th, they voted to indict me for witness intimidation. Mello did not seek Mr. Kearney's indictment for illegally wiretapping Mr. Scanlon. All of the evidence Mr. Mello presented on November 28th related to the uncharged allegation of Mr. Kearney illegally recording a phone call of Mr. Scanlon. So they did a whole thing. The first day of the grand jury was all about Scanlon. He's the only one, him and Tully are the only ones that testified. And Mello tells the grand jury he wiretapped him. He jumps to conclusions, says that already. And then on December 20th, when the grand jury goes to vote, he doesn't tell them to indict me for wiretapping. So why did he have a whole day dedicated to wiretapping? Why did he do that? Well, there's only one of two options here. And you guys can tell me what you think is the most likely happened. Okay? Number one, they introduced all this wiretapping nonsense to make me seem like a bad guy and to kind of prejudice the jury. Number two, he forgot. I mean, what do you think? That Mello forgot. Let's do a poll. Let's do a quick poll on this. Hold on. We got to do a poll. What do you guys think? Do you think he was trying to prejudice the jury or forgot? You guys vote in that. I'll be right back. I gotta take a leak. Hold on. All right, we're back. We're back. Who won the poll? Let's see. The poll is 60% say he was trying to prejudice the jury. I would have voted for he forgot. I think he forgot, but that's just me. I think he just fucking forgot. I think they did prejudice the jury accidentally, but I think he just forgot. I don't think that was like, I really think he forgot because it's fucking Mello. You forget how incompetent he is. He's like really incompetent. But again, I'm muted. People say muted. Why would you say muted? Yeah, maybe both. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, anyway. That's just my opinion. I don't have any proof of that. It's a mystery to me why they didn't do it. But either way, it's a problem for the Commonwealth because you can't introduce evidence to a grand jury that's prejudicial. Like even if they did forget, right? Then that's not a valid explanation. Dude, people like, I don't think you forgot. You don't understand how comically incompetent Kenneth Mello is. Like you've never seen him in action. Like some of you guys are newer. He is bad. Like Cosgrove couldn't do fucking is probably 20 years older than him. And his mind is just a million times better than Mello's already. But anyway, the evidence presented in support of the uncharged allegation of wiretapping consisted of the partial recording Ms. Peters sent Tully and testimony from Scanlon. The illegal recording played before the grand jury didn't start recording until 1:09 into the call with Kearney and Scanlon. Scanlon claimed that during the non-recorded portion of the audio played before the grand jury, Mr. Kearney told him that he wouldn't record their conversation, but that's not on the audio. Mr. Mello didn't authenticate or otherwise demonstrate the reliability of the partial recording provided to him by Ms. Peter. Or maybe this is why they didn't try to indict, because there's a minute 9 missing. Mr. Mello didn't instruct the grand jury about the purported relevance of the wiretapping evidence. He didn't instruct the grand jury to disregard any act or evidence or instruct the grand jury about the wiretapping evidence. What Mr. Mello did do was instruct Tully to read the grand jury the text of the wiretapping statute, including the punishment for jail for 5 years. At the conclusion, Mello informed the grand jury this case involved a violation of MGL 272, after which he summarized the definition of the wiretapping statute, which meant the grand jury heard it twice that day. After November 28th, he never referred to the wiretapping allegation again. On September 11th, I was informed by Mr. Cosgrove that Mello decided not to proceed with the request for the grand jury to indict Mr. Kearney for allegedly wiretapping. That's all. That's Cosgrove's explanation. I guess he just didn't do it. I don't know why. On information and belief, if Mr. Mello decided not to seek a wiretapping indictment, then he realized that the audio recording of Peter gave to Tully wasn't reliable evidence. There's no other logical reason for Mr. Mello to call 3 witnesses, introduce a recording, and introduce a hearsay report in support of wiretapping indictment and not seek an indictment unless A, he realized the evidence wasn't reliable, or B, he offered the evidence exclusively for the purposes of prejudicing Mr. Kearney before the grand jury. Or I would say option C, he forgot. But that's just me. As the legal advisor to the grand jury, Mr. Mello knew that he should have decided to not proceed with the seeking of an indictment for a serious crime before he severely prejudiced Mr. Kearney by calling witnesses, playing a recording, and twice instructing them of the elements of the uncharged wiretapping allegation. As the legal advisor to the grand jury, Mello knew that if he decided not to seek Kearney's indictment for wiretapping after he presented voluminous evidence in support of the uncharged crime at a minimum, he was obligated to instruct the grand jury that it must disregard all evidence in support of the uncharged bad act. It may not consider the evidence. This is what you have to do. This shit matters to a grand jury. It's grand. Remember, it's not a regular jury. It's a grand one. You have to, they get to ask questions and shit on the grand jury. You get to like put your hand up and it's cool. You're on the grand, you're grand. And so, but it's a grand jury. So you have to treat them grand too. You have to instruct them, right, that they must disregard all evidence, right? Like he had to, if he's not going to ask for an indictment on wiretapping, by law, he has to tell the jury, you are to disregard all that wiretapping stuff on the first day. You were to, if he changed his mind about it, otherwise it's just prejudicing the jury. All right. He didn't do any of that. Mr. Mello's presentation of irrelevant and prejudicial evidence of an uncharged bad act that bore no relationship to the charges before the grand jury impaired the integrity of the grand jury proceeding. See Commonwealth versus Brown, case law. Most of the evidence that he offered in support of charges that he actually presented for the grand jury's consideration consisted of what he and Tully knew was cherry-picked, out-of-context snippets from Kearney's online content. The critical issue for the grand jury's determination regarding the witness intimidation charges was Mr. Kearney's intent. Mello improperly expressed his unsworn opinion that I intended to intimidate witnesses. He tells the grand jury that he has never prosecuted a case before. They brought in a guy who spells office with 3 F's, can't find work, needs to fleece off the taxpayers, may or may not be dying, and they throw him in front of a grand jury. He has no fucking clue how any of this works. He doesn't know the rules. He doesn't know the case law, and he just kind of wings it and says whatever he wants. It's comically bad. All right. He improperly elicited Tully's opinion that Kearney is intended to intimidate witnesses. Mello improperly elicited from Miss McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Julie Nagel their opinions of Mr. Kearney's intent. So he asked them all, what do you guys think he was trying to do? Oh, what I think he was trying to do is prevent me from testifying. He throws them alley-oops. They all knew the card. He also does it to Colin Albert. And Colin Albert fucks it up. Every other witness, they ask him, why do you think he's doing this? And they all go, he's doing this because I am a witness in the Karen Reed trial and he doesn't want me to testify. And then it's Colin Albert's turn. And they go, why do you think he's doing this to you? And he goes, something to the extent of, I don't know why he's doing this to me. I don't know what his problem is. He's just weird. He didn't know the script. He didn't review the script. He fucked it up. Colin fucked it up, but he still got the indictment. So there you go. All right. Mello and Tully deliberately misled the grand jury by giving the false impression that Kearney named his episodes in a manner suggestive of his intent to intimidate witnesses. 14 times during the grand jury proceeding, Tully testified that the grand jury exhibits were maintained in a folder titled Intent. He concealed that Tully, not Mr. Kearney, created and named the Intent folder, and that Tully, not Mr. Kearney, renamed the clips. Again, Tully's taking blame for this. We're going to blame for it. It's better this way for us, quite frankly. It's better if the lead investigator did it. That way they can't blame it on someone else. Mello neither instructed the grand jury to disregard his repeated reference to retrieving videos from the Intent folder names, nor told the grand jury that it was the exclusive fact finder on the question of Mr. Kearney's intent. After being peppered with improper opinions that Mr. Kearney intended to intimidate witnesses, the grand jury was left to speculate and likely incorrectly believed that Mr. Kearney, not Tully, created the Intent folder. If the grand jury knew that the Intent folder, the episode names described to it, and the edited clips that became the grand jury exhibits all were created by Tully instead of Kearney, the probable impact of such evidence would have been substantially less. Either way, by repeatedly encouraging Tully to testify that the edited videos offered to prove Mr. Kearney's intent were maintained in a folder named Intent, Mr. Mello intentionally and improperly bolstered the distorted evidence because Tully's testimony was tantamount to additional expressions of Mr. Mello's and Tully's opinions that his intent was to intimidate witnesses. In other words, they're telling the grand jury what my intent is over and over again. Mr. Mello and Tully further deceived the grand jury by playing edits of his lengthy episodes and then depriving the grand jury from the complete and accurate context contained in his actual episodes. Exactly. You can't get a good understanding of who I am and what my show's all about by listening to 30 seconds of me. It's so disingenuous and so dishonest and so misleading. You want to, I play the whole episode, the whole 3, make the grand jury watch the whole episode. I bet you they like me. I bet you they get me. They like, okay, so this guy's just a comedian. He makes jokes. He does shit. He calls himself daddy for fucking Christ. He calls himself goddamn fridge daddy. And you want us to believe this guy's like a criminal mastermind? Fridge daddy is the fridge daddy is the criminal mastermind. Somebody who calls himself fucking fridge daddy. Oh my God, give me a break. This sleight of hand dramatically misrepresented the context of the episodes and names and deprived the grand jury of the right to the complete statements made by Mr. Kearney. Odell, motion to dismiss. The cumulative impact of his concealment of the actual titles, full length, and content of his episodes deliberately kept the grand jury ignorant of the truth. Mr. Kearney's mostly hours-long episodes were dedicated to subjects far different than the edits and names Miss Peter provided to Mr. Mello and Tully, and included elements of comedy and satire. Mr. Mello's and Tully's scheme to mislead the grand jury with evidence that Mr. Kearney's episodes' names were indicative of his criminal intent even misled the court and Mr. Cosgrove. Interesting. In sustaining a number of witness intimidation counts. And in May 19th, this is good. Criminal intent even misled this court, Judge Doolin. So Judge Doolin has been deceived by the Commonwealth. How? Well, in his May 19th, 2025 decision in our motion to dismiss, he understandably referenced the episodes by the false names provided by Mr. Mello and Tully in a manner suggesting it believed the names were created by Mr. Kearney and were relevant to its decision. So Doolin himself, in his denial of our motion to dismiss several indictments, refers to the episodes as the wrong names. So Doolin himself has been deceived by the Commonwealth and made to look a fool. I hope he takes that personally. I would. He was fooling Doolin. They were fooling Doolin. I hope he doesn't put up with that. That's not okay. And he goes on to say, in a July 2025 filing, Cosgrove, also apparently unaware that Tully and Mello distorted the evidence, cited the, quote, aptly titled episode 616, trying to destroy Colin's life. So he called the titles of the video of the episodes aptly titled, suggesting that I named them and that he agreed that they are aptly titled. He didn't know either. Cosgrove didn't know. Doolin didn't know. Cosgrove didn't know. None of them knew. As detailed in the following chart, the Commonwealth engaged in the pervasive misconduct. So here's Olivia's fucking bomb chart. Awesome. That we went over earlier. The above chart and Mr. Mello's conduct immediately before he sought his indictment best demonstrates how he repeatedly impaired the integrity of the grand jury proceeding and prejudiced Kearney by misleading the grand jury about the evidence's intent. Prior to December 20th, Mr. Mello already had spent an extraordinary amount of time and effort introducing inflammatory and irrelevant evidence and instructions of an uncharged bad act. The Scanlon thing. Prior to December 20th, he falsely and improperly testified about the location, names, and length of content of at least 17 edits from Mr. Kearney's episodes. Mr. Mello had already bolstered his improper presentation of evidence by eliciting Tully's affirmative statement that these incidents, the videos previously played, were all attempts to intimidate these witnesses, they tell the grand jury. On December 20th, Mello bolstered his previous misconduct with his unsworn opinion in Tully's sworn opinion by eliciting Tully's agreement with him that edited exhibits depicted Aidan Kearney making some comments about his intentions with respect to his activities. Immediately following this improper marshaling and bolstering of the evidence, Mr. Mello instructed Tully to play the videos, which he told the grand jury he did, and Tully believed proved Mr. Kearney's intent. He proceeded to play a series of videos which improperly testified came from the intent folder. Okay, so we've been over all this. He named them. Okay. Tully matter-of-factly falsely swore that these episodes from the intent folder were episodes that he prejudicially named. So I named them. As if Mr. Mello and Tully's conduct already wasn't bad enough, they exacerbated the prejudice to Mr. Kearney by further bolstering the evidence in their improper opinions of it by replaying edited video and repeating their false blah, 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 blah. Okay. So these are all the misnamed things that he played. No members of the O'Keefe family testified. So on December 20th, the day that they indict me, he brings up these ones that are all wrongly titled. No member of the, again, this part about the Alberts should be afraid. He says something about the O'Keefes here. No members of the O'Keefe family testified, but yet they were cited in one of the titles of the videos about like, what's wrong with the O'Keefes or something like that. Mr. Mello didn't seek Mr. Kearney's indictment for the alleged witness intimidation of any members of the O'Keefe family. He testified that the final video played in front of the grand jury came from the intent folder. It was entitled Rolling Rally, Don't Feel Bad for the O'Keefes. Obviously, to make me look like a jerk. That's all that was about. But the actual title was Mr. Kearney seeking justice for John O'Keefe. Right? So the grand jury didn't know, like, bro, I'm out here fighting for John O'Keefe. They make it seem like I'm attacking John O'Keefe's family. Like, no, bro, I'm doing this for John, for JJ. The small clip of the misnamed video was irrelevant to the charges because I'm not charged with intimidating the O'Keefes. The brief discussion of the O'Keefes centers on his frustration that they've been misled about who was responsible for Mr. O'Keefe's death and the impact their belief had on Miss Reed. The final clip constituted another example of Mr. Mello improperly introducing uncharged bad acts, evidence to prejudice Mr. Kearney, and appeal to the emotions of the grand jury. Mr. Mello didn't appeal to the emotion by bringing up Peggy and Paul. Mr. Mello did not instruct the grand jury of the purported relevance of the final edited video exhibit and caution the grand jury to limit its deliberations to relevant evidence. At the conclusion, Mr. Mello informed the grand jury that he presented it with sufficient proof of Mr. Kearney's intent to intimidate witnesses. Now, to prove intent, the Commonwealth has to prove the purpose or objective of any behavior of the defendant, which would be Mr. Kearney. Obviously, it is impossible to look directly into his mind, but we believe that the evidence has been presented to you that would allow you to make that determination. So you can read his mind. Go ahead, just read Turtleboy's mind based on these clips that are edited by something called 𝗪𝗏. He asked Tully, is it your contention that these incidents in the videos were attempts to intimidate witnesses? Shockingly, Tully said yes. Throughout the grand jury proceeding, Mello engaged in other improper conduct. Ms. McCabe testified that she'd received threatening Facebook messages from Mr. Kearney and others. She said that she provided them to the Commonwealth. She described messages which physically threatened her and others, which included pictures of her daughter, blank. Remember, she would always say that, like, there was semen everywhere. The picture of the daughter. That was never, to this day, we've never seen that picture. No one has. The infamous semen picture, the Allie McCabe semen picture. Where is it? So his impact on the grand jury included allowing grand jurors with a strong opinion about Mr. Kearney to decide for themselves whether they felt comfortable in telling them that they were welcome to stay instead of instructing them to recuse themselves from this matter. Oh, yeah. He tells a grand juror one of the grand jurors, like, hey, I know Julie Nagel. Says that. She goes, I know Julie Nagel. And Mello's like, it's okay. You can stay. And she's like, no, I think I'll leave. Like, she tells him it's so bad. It's so bad, the grand jury testimony. Informing the grand jury of sentencing possibilities, asking them their opinion, asking witnesses their opinion of my intent, referring to my followers as his minions. He calls you guys minions in front of the grand jury. On February 23rd, the defense demanded from Mr. Mello, among other things, statements made by possible witnesses to 𝗫𝗨 in all statements between and among civilians. Yeah, a grand juror indicated that they knew Miss Nagel. Mr. Mello, who already opined that Miss Nagel was a victim of intimidation, tried to excuse the grand juror for Miss Nagel's testimony only. Remarkably, the grand juror had to instruct Mr. Mello that it was not appropriate for him or her to vote on any counts and that they needed to be excused. Like, I can't believe a grand juror. That's why they call them grand jurors, folks. A regular juror would not know to do that. But a grand juror is like, bro, this is not, I'm not a regular juror. I'm a grand juror. Okay. I know the rules. You're obviously new to the grand jury. You don't know how it works, Mello. Mello's like, you can still be on the grand jury as long as you indict. She's like, I'm going to sit this one out, boss. Okay. There's no judge at a grand jury. There's no judge at a grand jury. It's just Mello's in charge. He's a cowboy. Maverick cowboy Mello. On March 19th, the defense informed the Commonwealth that Mello's response to the demand was inadequate and that he failed to disclose all automatic discovery. On April 23rd, Mello was directed by the court to disclose all automatic discovery. He didn't comply with the May 8th deadline to disclose discovery to the defense. Mr. Mello's failure to comply with the court-ordered deadline wasn't the first time he's neglected important legal matters. He's been disciplined for neglecting at least 3 matters. In 2016, he publicly reprimanded for performing very little work of substance and a failure to communicate with his client. He was further reprimanded in a second matter due to his professional incompetence in failing to file paperwork that he was legally required to do in connection with his criminal client's appeal. In 2006, he was admonished for similar misconduct for failing to prosecute a client's case, resulting in its dismissal, and for failing to communicate with his client. 𝗫𝗏 must have known or should have known about Mello's documented failures to comply. Bro, this is all this is the best they could get to prosecute me. And then they got triple dip. Mr. Cosgrove joined the prosecution team. On May 8th, to his credit, he acknowledged that Mr. Mello impeded progress in discovery. He provided some discovery to the defense, although none of it related to Miss Peters' interactions. On July 10th, in response to the defense's March 19th demand, Mr. Cosgrove stated that the Commonwealth would provide all evidence required under Rule 14 and recognize its obligation to provide exculpatory evidence. Beginning in the fall of 24, the defense made a series of specific demands for favorable and discoverable evidence. On July 25, the Commonwealth didn't disclose any evidence responsive to the defense demands for evidence related to Miss Peters' relationship with the Commonwealth, including her involvement in the investigations of Mr. Kearney. Although the Commonwealth has provided some materials related to Miss Peters, it has been inadequate. The Commonwealth has represented that certain evidence provided by Miss Peters to Mr. Mello and 𝗫𝗨 is no longer in their possession, custody, and control, and has been deleted by Miss Peters. Okay. The court should soundly reject this weak justification for their failure to preserve and provide exculpatory and discoverable evidence. Commonwealth versus Woodward. On September 12th, I asked a specific demand to Cosgrove and Mello. So this is the Bederow letters. He asked for any information in their possession, custody, and control that tended to repair the credit, blah, 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 blah. In this demand, I detailed Miss Peters' prominent role in a conspiracy created December 23, the purpose of which was to lure Mr. Kearney into being charged with witness intimidation of Miss Kearney with the fake grand jury summons. Mr. Mello's direct involvement in this scheme was so great that he was disqualified in any case in which Miss Kearney is the alleged victim. Miss Kearney has since filed lawsuits against Cosgrove and 𝗫𝗨 for what she alleges are their improper actions in the 24 indictments, including causing her emotional harm. She also sent a demand letter to the DA in which she strongly implied her intent to sue the DA for at least $50,000 unless she is financially compensated soon. In addition, Ms. Qitanni's, into sabotaging her own credibility, Ms. Qitanni's virtually unprecedented scorched earth blame everyone legal maneuvers have created an irreconcilable conflict that requires Mr. Cosgrove and Tully's immediate disqualification from the 24 indictments and possibly the 23 indictments. Good job, Towel. I informed the DA that an extraction report from Ms. Qitanni's cellular phone provided the defense appeared to have a scrubbed communications from Miss Peter, Mr. Mello, and Tully after Ms. Qitanni and Miss Peter discussed blank. Remember, we went over this? That there are, in the fake victim's phone, which we can't talk about anymore, but we talked about before, that there was shit missing in there. As soon as they started talking about redacted. If you remember those, you can go back and read them, because you can't erase your memories, can you, folks? No court protective order can erase your memories. On October 8th, I sent Cosgrove and Mello another demand. So another letter in which we wanted all information from Miss Peter to the Commonwealth, but not limited to written reports, notes, and emails, text messages, audio, or recordings. They didn't respond. So again, this is why we did the letters, so we could use it in a motion. If they don't want to give us what we're asking for, then we were trying to be gentlemen about it. I sent another demand on October 17th for all the 𝗫𝗏𝗎 emails, didn't get them. On December 16th, Mello forwarded some communications between himself and Miss Peter to Mr. Cosgrove, but he doesn't give it to us until July 7th. Could have used those in the motion to dismiss. On March 29th, I sent Cosgrove another demand for evidence related to the Commonwealth's relationship with Peter, Miss Peter. I demanded, including but not limited to Miss Peter's involvement in Mr. Kearney's case, such as evidence of interactions and communications between and among Miss Peter and Mr. Kearney and the Reed prosecution team, which included Mello, Tully, Buchanan, Proctor, and Fanning. I informed Cosgrove it had been more than 5 months since we first asked for it. I again provided detailed facts about it. On July 7th, the Commonwealth disclosed some evidence related to Miss Peter, including the messages forwarded by Mello to Cosgrove on December 16th, and a few emails that she sent without responses. The Commonwealth responded that it turned over 4,727 pages of his emails, when in fact over 4,000 of those pages were blank. Remember, they gave us, how many shenanigans are we seeing? Remember the blank pages? There's just so much shit. So much shit. On July 12th, I wrote Mr. Cosgrove, once again making a specific demand for all evidence related to Miss Peter. They provided some evidence, including a file containing the previously blank Tully emails. So they gave it to us the second time around. Oh, we got to ask twice. Okay. On August 13th, Cosgrove represented to the court that Tully has a practice of not clicking on unsolicited links. He further stated that Tully did not review any material sent to him by Peter, which were introduced to the grand jury. So these were never accessed, in effect, by the Commonwealth. The links are now dead, and we've never seen them. Oh, okay. So all the links that 𝗀𝗏𝗏 sent her, they're gone. She deleted them. We need an evidentiary hearing, y'all. There's strong reason to doubt the truthfulness of Tully's claims to Cosgrove. November 28th, 2023 transcript. Sergeant Buchanan informed Tully and others that he had already provided blank to ADA Adam Lally. Tully swore that she, quote unquote, provided the audio recording to him in a private link. After Detective Tully's blank, Sergeant Buchanan informed Tully and others that he already provided blank 𝗕𝗏𝗂𝗄. I wonder what that could be. Even if 𝗬𝗏 didn't personally review any links sent to him by Miss Peter, Mr. Cosgrove's representation that the Commonwealth, in effect, never accessed the links ignores the indisputable proof that Mello accessed the materials that Miss Peter provided to him. Once the links were sent by Miss Peter and received by any agents of the Commonwealth in 23, that evidence was in the Commonwealth's possession, custody, and control, and had to give them over. All right, so they didn't do that. So Mr. Mello is as a defense witness. He's already been disqualified from the fake victim case because he made himself a witness. He also made himself, his conduct before the grand jury also made himself a defense witness. His advocacy in seeking to have criminal charges lodged against other individuals while acting as both an advocate for witness Chris Albert. I mean, this guy went out and tried to get the Canton 9 charged. Nobody appointed him to do that. He thinks he's like a fucking cowboy. He really does. On November 5th, weeks after Mr. Kearney had been arrested, Mello called the police on behalf of, so we've been over this one about the Canton 9. He initially identified himself as a prosecutor with the Norfolk DA's office. He immediately asked to speak to the supervising sergeant. He reported a protest occurring near Mr. Albert's pizza shop and requested a police car respond to make sure they're not intimidating. After Mello was asked to confirm his identity, he properly disclosed that he was not a prosecutor, but the special prosecutor on Aidan Kearney. After hanging up with Mr. Mello, the officer who took the call properly noted to a fellow officer, well, they can protest. An officer called Mr. Mello back and told him that the incident amounted to nothing more than 4 people holding signs across the street from D&E Pizza who weren't impeding traffic. The officer noted it seemed kind of mellow. It's a small group now. Undeterred from his advocacy for Mr. Albert, Mello asked the sergeant to look at section 268.13a. After reviewing the witness intimidation statute, the sergeant asked Mello what he was thinking of doing. He urged the Canton police to either charge or disperse them because they met every single requirement of that statute. So he tells the police how to do their job. Why is he doing this? He's a witness now. He said that these protesters were certainly there to influence Mr. Albert. They aren't there for any other reason. Mello's conduct and his credibility will be key issues at trial. They cannot be advocates at trial in which a lawyer is likely to be a necessary witness. So why we need an evidentiary hearing? The defense has provided substantial evidence in support of our motions that raise substantial material questions. With respect to the motion to dismiss the indictments due to the prosecution's impairment of the integrity of the grand jury proceeding, the defense, at a minimum, has raised material questions of fact regarding why the Commonwealth presented the grand jury with uncharged evidence. So we need an evidentiary hearing to find out why they didn't charge me with the Scanlon thing. Whether 𝗬𝗏 created the evidence used before the grand jury, why he edited the videos, why he created the intent folder, why he changed the names of Mr. Kearney's episodes, and whether Mello was aware of any of this, and whether they discussed in advance of the grand jury presentation. Why Mr. Mello didn't enter Mr. Kearney's complete episodes into evidence. Why, if Mr. Mello knew the actual names and content of the episodes, did he elicit testimony in the manner that he did? What evidence did Miss Peter provide to the Commonwealth? To whom did she provide it? Who reviewed it? And did anyone vet its authenticity? What is the complete substance and nature of communications between 𝗬𝗏 and Mello and Miss Peter regarding 𝗬𝗏's claims that she didn't review any links she sent him? Did Mello, 𝗬𝗏, and others, agents of the Commonwealth, review, preserve, or disclose, delete any evidence provided by Miss Peter? And whether any or all of the answers of the material fact establishes that the Commonwealth misled the grand jury by intentionally or recklessly presenting false or misleading evidence in an other manner that impaired the integrity of the grand jury. With respect to the motion to dismiss the indictments for the prosecution's failure to provide exculpatory evidence to the defense, at a minimum, has raised material questions of fact, including what efforts, if any, the Commonwealth made to promptly respond to the numerous specific defense demands. Why did it take years for the Commonwealth to disclose all this stuff? an inventory of all evidence Miss Peter provided, including who sent it, who she sent it, and what evidence was preserved, whether evidence provided by Miss Peter was edited, tampered with, or anything by anyone else, whether any deletions was intentional, why were communications between and among Mr. Mello, Tully, and Peter from September 23 through 24 disclosed by Mr. Mello months after defense specifically demanded them? And why had the Commonwealth failed to disclose alleged written communications that Ms. McCabe had sworn she provided the Commonwealth? With respect to the defense's motion to disqualify Mr. Mello, we have at a minimum raised material questions regarding his credibility, including her bias, his knowledge of Krusty's dubious credibility, including her history of forging evidence and false accusations, communications with Miss Peter regarding in production of evidence. Okay. You guys get the point here. So we need an evidentiary hearing or a motion to dismiss, and we're going to get it. One or the other. So that's it. So mega motion done. Memorandum of law is also included in the article that I published that shows all the case law for all this and why they must legally dismiss these charges, why my rights have been violated, why everything, the Constitution's been violated, everything's been violated here. That's mega motion. So what do you guys think? Pretty cool? Pretty good stuff. Was it worth the wait? Do I not have the greatest legal defense team ever? Give it up for Mr. Bederow, please. Give it up for Mr. Bederow. Give it up for Olivia Lambeau and Courtney Healy and Tim Bradle. What an awesome job they've all done in getting this all together, man. So just excellent work. So, because there's a lot. I mean, this is a lot of work. As he said in the roast of me, can you give me 24 hours? I just want to be a lawyer. Okay. It's excellent. And so a week from today, we're going to be arguing this motion. Doolin is hopefully reading this tomorrow and thinking, what the hell is going on here? We want an evidentiary hearing. We want to get, we have had enough. We're sick and tired of this. It's been going on for 2 years. It needs to end. End this shit. Speaking of ending, let me read some turtle chats here. All right, Bethany sends $10, goes, I hate bananas too, but potassium helps with the muscle cramps. I do get muscle cramps. And we all know about the TB cramp face. Get a potassium vitamin with this $10. Okay, maybe. Kristen from St. Louis sends $10 and goes, oh my God, being at the Wilbur was unbelievable. She came all the way from St. Louis. I have no one who knows the case in my town like me, and being there made me feel like I came home to my tribe. I met the best people. I was even on JFK's live. How cool was that? If you're from like a place like St. Louis or Winnipeg or something like that. I know that some people by you probably heard the Karen Reed case, but obviously it's not as big as it is here. You came to the place where everyone knows the Karen Reed case, and you went to a theater where everyone has been consuming this content just as much as you have. So it must have been a really cool feeling to be surrounded by all those people who have such an obsession with this case as you do. As we all, I mean, that's our one commonality that we all have, you know. Alyssa sends $25, goes, no subject that you covered has made you or your professional career. They have only made people more aware of your talents. This holds true for all award-winning journalists, even when the subject is guilty. Lori Vallow brought a lot of awareness to Nate Eaton. Yes, she did. The only difference is that Lori gave Nate an interview. So there's that. Oh, shots fired. I know. I don't really care. Again, I'm so over it. At this point, it'd be kind of weird if I even did one. It would feel forced, and I wouldn't even really want to be honest. So I'm good. Next, Leslie sends $10, goes, first and foremost, congrats on all your success. I appreciate that, Leslie. I'm not going to read the rest of this, and you can message me privately and I can explain why if you'd like, but I don't want to read that one. So I'm going to, again, there's a 99% chance I'm going to read your messages. Sometimes just might be something in there. Just keep out. All right. Okay. $99 here from Sue sends another one. It goes, hello from Belgium, Doc. Nice. Belgium bucks. I am so outraged by what has been exposed in Norfolk County. If I heard correctly, Levy abandoned his investigations because the corruption was too widespread. Did I hear that correctly? Thanks. No, you heard that incorrectly. You said, I heard, history credits you if democracy is still a thing in the future. Levy, it was just part of the Biden administration. So that's it. He was, he's switched. So when Trump got elected, he resigned and a new U.S. attorney was appointed. Okay. So unfortunately, it appears to be political. All right. Do we have any turtle chats here? Mary sends $5 and goes, I found Jen's name mentioned in the Globe on April 14th, 2023. Interesting. That's interesting because WCVB did not report Brian Albert or Jennifer McCabe's name forever until like the trial. Okay. All right. I think that's it, folks. So anyway, yeah, you guys got anything else? Any questions or anything? And by the way, Erica Walsh, you are mentioned in the fake victim's latest filing, which we're not even going to get into today because fuck her. But she's filing a motion that I be held in contempt and that she be paid $20,000 by the court for releasing her phone extraction because Jason Broyles released her phone extraction on Twitter. So she files a motion complaining that her phone extraction has been shared. And they even hyperlink in the motion Jason Broyles' Twitter account, thus directing people directly to her phone extraction. And then blaming me for it. And they want to hold me in contempt. I haven't fucking shared her phone extraction with anyone at all. It's just crazy. But Erica is mentioned in it because she specifically says in there, let me just read this. I screenshotted it when I read it real briefly. In the live chat section, so you guys, in the live chat section of the defendant's September 14th, 2025 broadcast, Erica Walsh, one of the users who serves as a moderator, a person with the power to remove comments and users from the live chat, she posted a direct link and then puts the link lindsay'sphone.com. That's what she puts in there. This is from a public court document that anyone can read. Okay? And she says that this links to the full contents of her phone. What does this have to do with me? She says the defendant took no steps to remove the link and thus facilitated the distribution of the extraction by a third party in violation of this court's order. So she's claiming that Erica Walsh posted a link to the fake victim's phone extraction in the live chat. And because I didn't immediately delete it, I read the fucking live chat. Like I have time for this shit. Like I can possibly keep up with the live chat. Of course she sees it because she fucking sees everything. And I didn't even know that there was a link. I didn't know somebody made a fucking website that links to her phone extraction. But apparently she likes the attention because she's like posting it in the fucking filing now. I didn't know this existed previous to this. This has towel written all over it. I'm telling you, this reeks of towel. Reeks of it. All right. Anybody else got any questions or anything? Can your attorneys question the grand jury? No. There is no defendant yet, so there's no defense attorneys. They don't just creep on the videos. They're in the chat. Oh, she's watching right now. She has never missed an episode. Let me tell you. She has just been It's been a long time. No intimidator for her. It's not doing well for her brain. I really think she did. I really think this all like, wants people to see it. Like, it's fucking weird. Like, I don't want anyone to see that. Towel is the best free lawyer you can get if you don't need an attorney. Yeah. I didn't know it existed either, and I was in the reference chat. There you go. They did that. I didn't do that. You didn't make any trouble for me, Erica. It's absurd. It's fucking absurd. I didn't even know you did it. I don't police the comments section. I'm not in charge of what other people fucking say or do. It's absurd. So the argument's going to go nowhere. But, I mean, you guys can say whatever the fuck you want in the chat. I don't police the chat. I don't have time to babysit you people. You know? Okay. Anyway. Yeah, she said, I got a text during the live show with the link, so I shared it. As you're legally allowed to do. I don't know how any of this is my fault. Like, how fucking I get, like, it's just a desperate attempt on her part to just do the only thing that she exists to do and put me in jail. So there's that. What does Fridge Daddy refer to? You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Ask the Medfield police. They know all about Fridge Daddy. But anyway, guys, I am going to call it a night. But I just want to say that I love all you fine people. You're all really cool. And I love all you guys. And without you guys, I'm nothing. Nothing. I need my Turtle Riders and my supporters out there. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your support. And still riding the high of that Wilbur show. And we will see you guys for Sex Cult tomorrow night. And we'll see everybody else on Saturday night for the live show. All right? Peace to your bum crease, Turtle Riders. Brush your teeth.
It calls for data.